I wait tables. But last week, I built a field hospital.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the beginning of the third weekend of closed qualifier play for the Rally Cry Collegiate Series featuring Rocket League, presented by the Army National Guard. You know us well by now, unless this is your first time here. Welcome. We hope you enjoy the show, because do we have a jam-packed show to offer over the course of the next 2 days. My name is Galgan. Alongside me always is Relic, and Relic, we're here at the third weekend. It's been a wild journey thus far, with plenty of teams looking like they've already got their playoff spot locked in a few weeks' time. Other teams, the majority of whom are competing today, still looking to lock those spots in, but that's where we're at the end of the day, right? Fighting those middle-of-the-pack series, trying to get that advance forward and fighting more towards that prizing at the very end.
Yeah, maximum of 200 points left on offer, Galgan. As many points as you can get really is the aim of the game as you look at to head into the top 16 for the playoff bracket. I'm sure that there are some very intricate maths that already tell us who is auto-qualified. I can already tell you that the teams on 100 points surely are, they actually are auto-qualified. There's no way that any team's going to be able to get enough points to overhaul them out of the top 16. So Boise State, Oklahoma Christian, and Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Very, very unlikely that we will see any of these teams next week, let alone this week, where we know they have certainly not turned up. Whether they choose to use week number 4 as an opportunity to maybe get some more scrim practice in, we'll have to wait and see. But for everyone else below them, it is a hectic field. We're talking from 5th place to 15th place, only separated by 30 points. And considering that 25 of those points you earn from coming 4th, well, you can kind of see where the sort of dogfighting is going to be at this late stage of the season.
And it's important to note as well, obviously, we've talked about grabbing points, going for playoffs, trying to get yourself a decent seed. As far as the format of how these weekends have gone, we held several open qualifiers before we got to this stage. Teams had the chance to get into this, weekend play stage of the series. Now they're here. It's an open format of sorts. If you can and wish to play the weekend, you can jump right on into the bracket. We formulate it, we ship it off. It's a single elimination, best of 7, and as you mentioned, more points go to the winners, increasing rather exponentially as you go along. But all of these teams towards the middle, they're going to be fighting for it. I think today we have a grand total of 11 teams who have managed to show up, so we will hold a round of 8 after finding the first couple of qualifiers into said round. But that's where we find ourselves right now, Relic. This is the third of 4 weekends to fight for those playoff spots, and we're getting some setup going behind the scenes. But why don't we talk about some of those missing teams that we don't have this particular weekend? They may have already locked up their spot. They may have other obligations. It happens. Rocket League players getting together for an organized event on a weekend, that's a pretty tough ask sometimes. But some of those bigger names like Oklahoma Christian, Maryville, Boise State, the Fisher College Pescados, all not present in this bracket. Relic, what do you make of it? Do you think it's brushing things off and just saying, we'll win in the playoffs anyway?
Look, trying to wrangle a bunch of kids to play esports on a weekend is difficult on a day when you're supposed to try and qualify well. It's even more difficult when it's very clear that you've already qualified. I like what UT Dallas are doing. Forget the seeding at the beginning of the season. I think that's null and void at this point. We've got a good idea of who the good teams are and who the good teams are not. And UT Dallas has very much been one of our surprises of the season. There we were thinking that they were going to be middle of the pack, maybe making the odd semi-final here or there would be an excellent result. But no, they were absolutely incredible. It's just a shame that they ran into Boise State at the end of the journey a week ago. And well, we all know what Boise State could do if you watch anything even related closely to CRL level. So they are the team that currently sit 4th on 70 points. But what they've got the opportunity to do today, Galgan, is they have the opportunity to get enough points to put themselves into first seed. Because keep in mind, yes, you've qualified for the playoffs, but your place in the table still stands. If you are first in the table, you are first seed, almost guaranteeing yourself an easier run-in through the playoff bracket. So whether that encourages teams to come back and try and improve their position in week number 4, I don't know. I kind of guess not, because I think a lot of these players also have, justifiably, a bit of ego on their side. They think that they're going to be able to beat anybody who they can go up against.
I'd have to agree. I would be inclined to do so, but I think it would be very funny if we got to the quarterfinals of said playoff tournament and it was 4th-seeded Oklahoma Christian going up against 5th-seeded Boise State. Wouldn't feel quite right in terms of that, but, you know, that's an issue for a couple of weeks down the line. We're getting things set behind the scenes. As I said, there are 11 teams in this bracket, so that means 3 initial round matchups leading into an 8-team quarterfinal round. We are going to jump to the one matchup in the quarterfinals that is ready to go. No preliminary match needed for either of those sides as we get those teams situated. It is the Gamecocks of USC going up against Northeastern Varsity. That'll be the first match that we check out. There's some others that we'll get to as we, look at this bracket, take a deeper look, try to see what teams can make jumps. Obviously, all familiar faces there somewhat in the preliminary rounds. We had Bowling Green State versus Michigan State, which, real quick, Relic, you had some very important information because that was the match that we were meant to watch. I want to know what this info is.
You might have gotten a free by MSU. You might have a player missing Bowling Green, but you're not going to escape my statistics. Going into this week, Gaugen, neither team had won a single game. And they still won't, in theory, because, okay, you've got a 4-0 by MSU, but are you actually going to get a game off UT Dallas after how good they looked? Shambles, absolute shambles. But you know what? The old news. Time to throw it in the fireplace. We'll use it for a little bit of kindling because we got ourselves a fiery game now. Gamecocks going up against Northeastern Varsity. And hey, Northeastern Varsity, Gaugen, they're new to week 3. They are only rookies going into this week. I think that's really exciting. They've obviously got a lot of backing behind them in terms of seeding. They've got to buy through to the quarterfinal stages. But this is also going to be the first series of the day for both them and Gamecocks. So whether this was quarterfinal, whether this was round of 16, doesn't really matter. You've got to be so prepared to put yourself up there and try and get as many goals on the board as possible.
I think it's important to note as well, other preliminary matchups. You've got the University of Alaska going up against Ohio State Gray. Ohio State Gray, technically not newcomers, although I think some technical difficulties prohibited them from playing in week 2 despite their intention to do so. We'll let that, up to whatever did happen during that past week. But they are here ready to make a statement against University of Alaska, who conversely only have those 2 points to their name courtesy of an early exit handed to them in week 1 against Rowan. So both teams looking for a little bit of vengeance. Our other preliminary match, Cal going up against Thomas College. Thomas College wants to get some sort of a foothold, push a little bit higher into the table if they can. Cal, similar situation, but you slightly favor them, as does the seeding. But again, a reminder for what all of these players are playing for at the end of all of this action. This is the 3rd of 4 closed qualifier weekends before we get into the playoffs. A total of $30,000 spread across several titles here in the Rally Cry Collegiate Series. But as far as Rocket League is concerned, Relic, $6K on the line.
Yeah, and again, this is why this league play or this multi-bracket system is so important, because you don't even get a slice of the pie unless you make the playoff bracket. And so the consistency or just the outright power on one of these weekends, that means a lot going forward. And both Gamecocks and Northeastern Varsity, Gaugen, this is one of their most important series of the season. If a Northeastern, yeah, of course, it's their first series of the season, but they currently sit on 0 points. With so little teams entering this bracket, comparatively speaking, to weeks 1 and 2, what a fine opportunity it is to find yourself immediately in a top 4 berth, guaranteeing yourself 25 points. That might be enough already in the bank to secure you that top 16 place. So real important, and especially given that Gamecocks themselves don't exactly have many points to work with. They dropped 4-3 to the New Haven Chargers in week number 1. That was in the round of 16. So quite frankly, any result that they get here is going to be an improvement. They're going to be at least doubling their points total. But again, getting into that top 4, it is such a high scaling points value, this system. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one for both of these teams. I imagine nerves might be a little frayed.
At the same time, let's remember USC on the outside looking in right now, currently in the 18th spot on the table. That will change very quickly based off of the points they grab here. But Northeastern Varsity, not even on the table to begin with. So the only way that they can go is up here today, and they'll certainly look to do just that. Guaranteed points from this particular bout as well. As you mentioned, I believe it's going to be 10 points to the loser of this series for their dropout in the quarterfinals, and a minimum of 25 points should the winner of this series lose out from the semis and then the third place match. But that is an issue for tomorrow to hash out. This series in front of us, best of 7. I'm excited for this one, and I hope you are too, because Northeastern Varsity coming in here, fresh face to the Rally Cry Collegiate Series featuring Rocket League, but still seated in 5th above some of these teams that have been battling it out for the weeks prior. Something about this Northeastern Varsity squad, whether it's, the literal rank of the players, maybe the tenure of this roster, has people believing that they could do some damage in a close matchup here.
Sure, and it's kind of like player transfers in real world sports. You kind of just gotta ignore the quote unquote price tag and just work with what's in front of you, because even though you've been seeded 5th for this particular bracket, you're still facing 4th. So you're still in theory facing a team that is better, but as UT Dallas has proven, just because you're seeded in a certain area, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're going to see out there on the field. And speaking of UT Dallas, we're largely expecting UT Dallas to be the opponents of the winner of this series in the semifinal, unless MSU managed to pull off one of the upsets of the entire Rally Cry Collegiate series so far. So I mean, honestly, this is just a case of you've been given a great opportunity. You're netting at the very least quarterfinal points. You could find yourself with an opportunity to gun for the grand final. At least you're looking to be getting 4th, 25 points on the board should you make it into the semifinals themselves. Yeah, that's a lot of points. Like I said, that's practically guaranteeing yourself a berth in the playoff bracket already. A lot riding on this series, and I would be disappointed if it doesn't go to at least game 6.
And let's briefly, as we get these players loaded up in the lobby ready to go, let's briefly touch on UT Dallas, because you mentioned them earlier on and how I am right there with you. But at the same time, a team that proves it doesn't necessarily matter where you were seeded. You just have to show up and play the series that are handed to you. UT Dallas is the first seed in this bracket with plenty other notable names missing. Another one as well that we didn't really touch on, Oakland, is not in this bracket despite only securing 10 points last week. We'll get back to that, I feel like. But UT Dallas, now that they're the first seed, the expectation from you and I in the green room was, this is UT Dallas's weekend to lose. Yeah. Is that where they want to be? Because the UT Dallas I know are game 7 merchants, comeback kids. They just pull it out whenever they need to. Now everybody's going to be trying to take the proverbial crown from them.
I don't know, man, because as much as I would have subscribed to the whole game 7 merchant storyline in week 1, again, we look back at the results in week 2, and they beat Southern Miss Coca-Cola 4-1. This is a Southern Miss side that made it to the grand finals in week 1. Arguably, you would say a more difficult bracket run through that one as well. So the fact that they were able to look so convincing, 4-1ing Oakland University as well, I think it's less so game 7 merchants and more their defense will eventually concede enough goals that they'll lose a game merchants. And that's kind of where I'm sitting. I don't think it's going to be a flawless bracket for them, because when is it ever going to be a flawless bracket for UT Dallas? They're just built different. That said, if they don't take first place, questions do have to be asked about the whole mentality situation, because you're absolutely spot on. It is so different playing as favorites compared to underdogs. There's no pressure on you. As underdogs, you're vibing, you're hoping for the best, and sometimes that leads to great results. But when greatness is expected of you, you know, that's a very different place to be in, and we're going to see whether they actually have the metal, the materials to be considered favorites, not even just for today, but looking forward at that playoff bracket as well.
Yeah, trying to keep your vision fixated solely ahead, get as many points as you can. UT Dallas, I mean, prospective grand final opponents, we can expect either Terps Esports of Maryland, who were handled by the Fisher College Pescados just last week fairly handily, or the Drexel Dragons, which would be a rematch of a Week 1 opening round of play series, of which UT Dallas did take 7 games to close out, but pretty confidently moved on from that into the rest of Week 1's playtime. Of course, before the finals come the semifinals, and before those semifinals come this quarterfinal, which we are attempting to get into. We've got the players nearly ready to go. USC versus Northeastern Varsity. I'm excited for this one. Tough to make a prediction because it's the first time we're seeing both teams on this stream this particular series, but I don't know. Something in the water tells me that this Northeastern Varsity squad has a hidden trick or two up their sleeve to be in this kind of position. You know, bypassing that preliminary round, getting that automatic quarterfinal buff. Maybe it's just based on how much better the players are. That skill difference that we see tend to come into play with some teams that are just simply better on the day of. But USC have an equal right to pull off something like that. It's put up or shut up time, though. Game 1 of this best of 7 relic, we're underway.
It's such an important series for so many reasons. We've gone through them comprehensively, but let's see just how literate these players can be on the pitch. Communication key, and an early start would certainly do the confidence the world of good. And so far, so good for both sides as they look to feel each other out in the midfield. A couple of interceptions here or there. A big breakaway here from Andro, who moves infield with that pass. It's going to be Aug who collects and throws downfield. Recycled center to Cross, but it's Andro to yellow. Lovely idea, but just millimeters away.
Great vision, execution, just a half step off the pace, but here go USC back the other side, and they pull something out. Cross with an early save towards that near post. You can see the cycling from USC to establish some sort of presence here. The pressure, Cats will launch to the back wall. No immediate purpose, but it's right down to Solar. Tough turn to make those bottom corner, but not nearly enough pace, although USC shot after shot on target. Finally getting cleared down the midfield line, but the stops keep coming.
Counters ticking up, but I think a little bit too hasty on the trigger. You need to wait for those better opportunities. You know, throwing a shot onto net with all the power of like a 5 horsepower engine. I don't know where I was going with that one, but like, you know, you need to be able to generate much more power to be able to even beat a distance as small as that one. Now, lovely double tap off the post and away it goes. I am shocked that this is still at Donuts.
Does not matter if you fire on all cylinders, if you can't spin it like a G6, is now sent to the corner. Prosk attempting to put a little bit of that flair, that extravagance on the bookend of the play. Quick shot from Og. That's the power you need to be clinical.
That is a flick and a half, isn't it? Love the angle from Al using that counter flip to generate the power that I was so sorely looking for. Beats that last defender rotating in, simply too pacey for the Spacey to close down. And Gamecocks with that opener then, I think honestly well deserved, given that they have generated the majority of chances. Exactly.
It could be a great setup here for USC to let Northeastern play into their pockets and just take the play wherever it goes from there. Not necessarily an overabundance of patience, but just letting Northeastern drive themselves into a hole and into a deficit here early on. Let them make their own mistakes, pick up the pieces, play that janitorial style that we know and love from some of the best teams in this game, but that's a nice touch to the back wall, and confusion sets in on the transition. Cross capitalizes.
Speaking of janitors, clean up on Isle Gamecocks. That is a brilliant ball from Frost. I thought that the last flick was good. This was suspiciously secretive, the flick. There was barely any touch between ball and car, but so slight it was that it does get a little bit of bend on away from the keeper. Really nice goal to equalize things up, and just on the stroke of halftime as well. Don't count Northeastern out. They're just getting started.
A great way to show the best offenses in this game innovate when they need to. Yellow is not back there in time. I thought there was a very small chance that Yellow got back, but good initial touch from Solar, and we're going all the way home. Hey.
That's so unfortunate, isn't it? And yet, Yellow so close, and yet not close enough. A meter forward from that position. And they're all right. They're going to be able to hit it off the bar. Still going to be a dangerous situation, but there's enough players around to make the difference. And speaking of making the difference, explosives in net. Cats with a goal. Daylight for USC.
So many differences evident so far. It's only been 3 minutes, but USC have that will about them to set up the offensive plays that look so calculated, like they have the plan formulated from the midfield line. Some teams struggle a lot with that concept. Just take the first shot, see what else sticks. USC, every time they enter, have the playbook open to something new, and Northeastern has to start learning and downloading that playbook very quickly.
It's 100 boost to work with, but Frost gives the ball up to Yellow infield to Handbro. That is wonderful. Mate, he's the poster cog glue of this team, it seems. 1 goal game.
Gotta say, the opening 30 seconds of this game, very deceptive, because we saw some passing plays come out, but they were just off the mark, and you start to think, oh, maybe the players are just, warming up into it. They're trying to get the feel. We'll see some changes of play style. Now it's really coming to fruition that both these teams are locking in a little bit. It's still only game 1, trying to get those connections going early so that they don't have to rely as much on individual mechanic masterclasses just to get a goal.
Oh my goodness. Barreling towards the ball, and it's off the bar again. Oh, given a freebie, USC can't take it. They can't unwrap it. It's not Christmas just yet. Still 10 months away, right down the other side. Solar straight to the path of Yellow. Tries to flick it over Aug, but he gets it away somewhat. Andro back into the center. Frost lurking. Cat's trying to corral this over to the corner. Does so successfully. No boost to work with. Misses out on the 50 entirely, and that pinch is favorable to the team in orange.
We'll get plenty of time here, Northeastern, to try and reset. Not if USC has anything to say about it. High press in the corner from 2 players. 1 minute to play. Need to strip the ball away, but more importantly, send someone in support to make sure something like this doesn't happen, where USC grab the ball on possession. They get clear, have a chance for a center pass. Nothing really sticks. Frost now off the sidewall, gets it centered. Yellow, too slow to the touch. Again picked off by USC, and they are playing a very oppressive style right now, to the point where Northeastern can't see the better half of the midfield line.
Very anti-game 1 form this one is. It's just a marble, a shootout. Who manages to score the most will win the most, but unfortunately overcommittal of the players here leaves Gamecocks wanting some sort of counter-attack. They're not going to get it. Nice pinch into the midfield, but here's Frost again, going central. Andro trying to latch onto the end of it, but Solar puts up the save irrespective. Cross to Yellow, near post, but too sharp an angle. Andro lurking, backboard, still dangerous, and away it goes. Yellow's going to recycle to Andro. It's, oh my goodness, that's so much mustard on it. Backboard, and I think that is all she wrote. Unfortunate USC survive first blood.
Certainly flashes of opportunity towards the end of that game, but I have to say, not that I was expecting, a drop in quality from what we've seen before in the prior 2 weeks of this tournament, but I was thoroughly impressed on the mid-game adjustments that both of these teams were making, because we got off to a very shaky start, and you mentioned it. Once we got further in, it did not feel like a game 1 where both teams are playing a bit cagey, trying to understand what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. We really got to that full-on, just take the best kind of shots that we can, throw caution to the wind offensively, see what happens. The only thing that concerns me is when we got to that 60 to 30 seconds remaining mark, and USC did not let Northeastern get any space. They were driven deep into the back of the blue zone, and Northeastern could not get the ball to the midfield line, let alone past it. When that much time is taken off the clock and you're only down by 1 goal, you have to start asking the question of defensive efficiency and how quickly you can find something like a power clear.
Yeah, if we flip the mirror for a little bit, I think it's worth talking about Northeastern half-heartedly pressing the panic button in that final 30 to 60 seconds or so. When you are 1 goal down, especially at this level, there is a temptation to try and speed things up, to try and go, a bit of route 1, And by going route one, you naturally give away possession. And so you're inviting your opponents to disrupt, to counter-attack. And I feel that played handsomely into USC's hands on this occasion. Not saying that what Northeastern did was wrong per se. I would say that it's expected, it's natural to go towards that, but maybe playing a little bit more possession heavy, keeping the ball closer to the chest, so to speak, might have been more prudent just to generate not the 3 opportunities that they had in the end, but the 1 good opportunity that could have seen OT achieve.
We'll see how successful they are in completing said task. USC don't seem too keen to let anybody from Northeastern hold on to the ball for any period of time. And you know what? That's one way to win a game of Rocket League. If you can replicate that over 4 and take the series comfortably, far be it from me to tell you to do any different. The second of the series underway. USC with another clear. Good coordination on the bump as well, moving out from the corner. Frost jumps quickly from said corner. Yellow in support. Good jump there. Tricky position to be in as the 3rd defender. But Yellow's playing a really solid role here to at least make USC back up, use the resources, and respect the space a little bit more.
It's nice if you're going to send it, then you are the one most forward. Simply got to hold up the rest of your team, give them the opportunity to grab a little bit more boost, rotate back in, set themselves up in defensive stalwarts and go for that counter-attacking. It's a very bish-bash sort of game, bish-bash sort of series so far, as we're still looking at that opener. And speaking of the opener, as if on cue, double demo, it was a free street.
Yeah, speaking of Bish Bash, you've got 1-2 lined up, Bish Bash and Bosch right in from AUG accuracy. Didn't really matter that much. You had 1 defender way out of the picture and the other 2 sent to the gray screen of Rocket League. It's 1-0 for the USC Gamecocks.
There's a great power play, great call, whoever made it. Kudos to you, right down the other end. That's a bit of a missed touch there from Cats, I should say, sorry. And Frost moving infield, but it's a bit too readable, that play off the backboard. I think it's going to be quite similar for Yellow, although it doesn't reach anybody, a little bit too much sauce, although this is still a dangerous position to try and maneuver themselves out of. Oh, Solon leaves it actually to Og. Silver lining is he does pick up the scraplets on the end of it. He's forgotten the 100 boost and loses out. They can't be affording to second guess themselves here, Galgan, especially when Yellow's got a free shot opportunity snuffed.
I do agree, though. It feels like the first steps of an overconfident playstyle for USC, where they feel that they can kind of park at the midfield line, just wait for the ball to be well received, goes off top corner, bumps do not deter Solar enough, and somehow that 3-car collision on the ball sees a pinch go all the way out to the zone of Northeastern to immediately get put back on target by AUG.
Cats, slow, methodical, straight into the welcoming arms of Yellow. Picks up the 100, looking for a bump, finds nobody. And bro, that's a decent pass in field, off his own bar effectively. Frost wastes so much boost, just going 90 degrees up. Yellow unable to find a shot opportunity of his own. Double commit effectively in the offensive phase. Frost again going forward. Northeastern Varsity, they got the opportunity to retain possession and to generate more chances, but they're very much squandering them every which way possible right now.
I think the problem for Northeastern is whenever they see USC start to slow things down, all 3 players want to speed up in response and get to the ball first. But the more that Northeastern speeds up, I feel like the more their comms start to drop. And you don't really have that reliance of being able to only send 1 person at a time, making sure somebody's in support but not in a position to double commit. It gets a little sloppier as they try to execute with more speed. It feels like that's kind of how it works for most teams, operating on different spectrums, right? How fast can you play versus the calm, cool, calculated aggression. It's something that Northeastern is finding out and warming up to in this series. But again, it's USC with the keys right now. Series lead, game lead, everything right now in their pockets.
90 seconds to find an equalizer, or alternatively for USC to put this one to bed, because the 1-goal lead, as nice as it has been for the last few minutes, still is a little bit precarious. Out towards the net, backboard, Cats completely unobstructed, and there is that daylight they were looking for.
It's a 3-player free play out here. No defense in sight, just has to jump, Angebro, at the hope that that ball finds its way on target, but a couple of seconds too early, that's all it took. Everybody from Northeastern just banking on a power clear again that's not coming through. The system's not going to work out. USC too strong at the midfield line and too strong at the top of the box as Cats nearly stuffs that against everybody in net.
Northeastern looking to break the press. The press has actually let off a little bit here. USC going back for resources. Brosco over the top of Cats. Nice play from Angebro. But where is Yellow? Nowhere to be seen. John Travolta can't find him, but they can find another goal. Aug with the steal, but it doesn't matter how it went in. It's 3.
Still a very justified score here for USC. You can tell that the disconnection and the roots of it are starting to run a little deeper than Northeastern may have shown in early indications, both offensively and defensively. Not quite having all 3 players on the same page at all times. They'll get a kickoff goal here as reconciliation with 48 seconds to play. Nothing short of a miracle feels like it's needed.
Not impossible, and it's a great kickoff from Yellow. Gets that, set-up trajectory for Angebro on the same page. And I mean, look, you can't miss from there. I mean, you can, but you really shouldn't miss from there. 2-goal game, not an impossible task, Augen, but that is very much a goal against the run of play.
I mean, I think it's nice that you say you can't miss from there. My ranked teammates and myself would very much like to differ, but fortunately for myself, them, and everybody watching the stream, this is not one of my ranked games. 30 seconds to play. Yellow up early to deter this from USC, who, again, they're just going to try and take as much time off the clock, take the ball to inaccessible areas for Northeastern to set up any kind of offensive push, but it's not working right.
Nice!
Just this moment, Angebro, good read off the back wall.
It's all the work from Proskir, goes off screen, but gets the crucial bump on Al, and all of a sudden Solar's like, uh-oh, this is on me, and then not in the right place to make the save. It's a really good bit of placement from Angebro, just out of the metaphorical hand. Now with less than 20 seconds left, game on.
Kickoff goes parallel to the halfway line. USC with full control. USC with an open net to shoot at, and they stuff the hopes and dreams right there. 4th goal.
It's practically Karate Kid out here. Game on and game off. I don't blame Northeastern for going a little bit bombastic on that play, on that kickoff routine. However, with so little time to work with, you had to try and attempt an overload, but USC see straight through it. They managed the situation masterfully, and they get that goal just to calm the nerves and ultimately get their 2nd point on the board. They're halfway to a Series W, most importantly, Gaugen. There's still signs from Northeastern, but they unfortunately came in the back half, not even that, the back quarter of this game. I think it was very much a little too ragged for my liking in the first 3 quarters.
I'm right there with you. It feels like USC are just sitting here in this series going, anything you can do, I can do better, and just completely, taking every step forward. As soon as Northeastern find that foothold, USC's like, oh, you almost had me. You almost got me. But, playing with that sort of level of drawing them in to stuff the hopes out doesn't work for every team. USC, I feel like, is one of those rosters that I'm confident enough in allowing them to do that. Now, I'm no coach. I'm no mental expert. I'm not going to try and dive into the deep psychology of, are they just messing around to give Northeastern a hope of winning before they crush it? I feel like that's a little too deep for our collective analysis of the Rocket League. But what I am seeing is more of the same from what we saw of game 1. USC feel more comfortable around the ball. On the other side, Northeastern feel like they're chasing a little bit. That's a recipe for losing a series pretty quickly, because you spend so many resources just trying to hit the ball in the first place that you're not concerned where your 2nd teammate, your 3rd teammate are. You're not concerned whether or not you have good transition defense, whether or not you're leaving one defender on an island to get a clear out to the 2 that are cheating up for some reason at the midfield line. So many of those small issues can be ironed out over the course of plenty of play, but USC is doing a really solid job of making sure they can't iron those out in this series.
In effect, I mean, to me, it very much was a continuation of the end of game number 1. Northeastern didn't really have that control and that prowess and poise that we saw in game number 1. Great save, by the way, Angebro. And USC just went from strength to strength on the comfort level. They went from dining room chair to legs up, feet up on the couch watching the TV. But they can't get too comfortable, because we do know that the technical quality and indeed the passing plays and ideas are still there in this Northeastern squad. The question is, do they have the prowess, the poise to unlock it in the first place?
See if they can find the keys in time, still firmly within the grasp of those USC Gamecocks. Centered up here off the back wall. Anybody home? Yellow has to rotate out and grab boost. The correct decision, given that Angebro was pushed up on that near side. Needed someone at the back post. Now another chance for Northeastern. Pross, good little wave dash there to deke past one. The stance is strong enough at the top of the box, but here's another opportunity. Angebro goes against two, and the clear is seen. But there's the high press against Pross, not giving any time to reconciliate there in the corner, and it's immediately put on, but Og stopped by the defensive wall.
Yeah, I don't know how much Yellow knew about that save, but he'll be glad that the save was registered and at the end of it all. Algbro, Angebro, combining two players now. Ultimately, the move comes to nothing. Aug, the actual one now, only runs into Angebro. Again, it's the two players. It's like they're doing a fusion dance out there, but there's nothing easy about this. It's all S-tier action from USC moving forward. Great double demo from Pross. Allows Yellow onto the play. Flips forward, another demo found, but great defensive play in the air from USC. But look at this. Into the pockets is they steal the money. Angebro lead Northeastern Varsity.
And see what happens when you take the high press and throw it right back in their face. Granted, again, it's kind of a risky play. Angebro is the only one not actively rotating out of the USC zone, and both of Ange's teammates probably lower boost. They're well inside the corner. If you commit to that ball and don't find that touch, USC gets a free walk down the other end to score on the counter. But the fact that you find that challenge, it's like the high risk, high reward payoff in Rocket League. It gets you everything for that brief moment of time. But how much more often can you rely on that as USC can't do the same thing?
Yellow, wrong place, wrong time, wrong direction. And they have wronged USC far too much. Tie game.
Oh dear, quick turn from Og. Everybody's just flailing at this ball. It's a moment where the plans go firmly out the window. You have to do anything it takes to get that ball clear. Not going to be the case. That was a surefire score for Og.
Shout out to that lovely G2 livery, by the way. Do like it very much indeed. One of my favorites from this season. We certainly hope to see more on the way in the future as well. Speaking of, that's a whiff. That's a free backboard second touch for Solar, and that's a lead for USC.
I don't know if I could see some more of this, like from everybody. I mean, usually, you know, setting it up off the backboard or your own sidewall touch, impressive. Setting it up from an aerial pass off the backboard from one of your teammates. I mean, yeah, USC, take my series. It's just, I am convinced that they've got what it takes, this it factor in clutch moments. Even though the game's tied and we're only at the halfway mark, you can see the differences start to emerge with how much more clinical USC can be.
Not only that, I mean, look at that, a great attacking move. There could have been two waves of that, but instead there was just the one, and the one missed. It hit the rocks with a gentle pitter-patter demo. Big interception there from Pross, who definitely looks like the most mechanically gifted of everybody on the pitch right now. Manages to get to the backboard, but by the time Yellow's on the scene, USC, again, those defensive responsibilities, we see it time and again. Demo opportunity, but not enough power, and all with an easy save.
Good push, though, here from Northeastern. If they can keep it going, midfield, Yellow tries to find Pross and does, even off the challenge. Now out through the corner. Good center, good touch, good score. Everything falls into place for Northeastern.
Hey, they found the keys again. Woohoo, and it all comes from this. It's not really so much as a 50 as Pross just takes it off a heavy touch from Al. And that is nice to see the comms from Angebro in the right position. For once, they're not tripping over each other. For once, they're actually synergizing. Back on level terms, but now they've got to find this second go-ahead goal, Galgan. 90 seconds to go. It does seem really even, but USC had created the better chances.
And listen, I understand I'm setting myself up for the most insane jinx in history right now. I want to know what training packs Prosk is doing! Meanwhile, Cats on the other end, finally trying to get involved on the offensive side here. It's Og to set it up once again. Quick jump over everybody and sends it against the run of flow for Yellow. USC grab the lead back.
On the prowl, and they're going to be purring after that one. Have a difficult angle, readjusting the car on the fly as well. Lovely redirect, and the go-ahead goal goes against Northeastern Varsity yet again. Angebro trying to go all the way to home base. Pross, by the time he reaches it again, there's too many Gamecock players in the way. Angebro, dangerous. Cat's a little too far forward into the midfield. It's Solar, throws it up, and I think for now, for USC, it's just about buying time. 60 seconds left. They'll be happy to hold this.
Hey, I want to talk about deja vu. 60 seconds to 30 seconds left of game one. USC stalls as much as they can. It's a high press into the bottom of the blue zone, and Northeastern can't find their way out. But here goes Yellow to the sidewall. Andro doesn't take over. Yellow foregoes. Andro takes the shot, and Katz has to make a reactionary save. So there's your start for Northeastern. Where do you take the ball away now? As a quick 1-2 from the midfield line brings USC right back to the promised land with a shot chance to boot.
Andro. Throw downfield doesn't really have any sort of intention worth mentioning. Alg looking for Solar, maybe ducks out of it. That long clear goes to nobody in particular, and Cass will take all day long. Not if Andro can say anything bad, but look at Prosk. Prosk was on the backboard when he had no right to be. He should be waiting as the second player looking to follow up, but now it's free, now it's loose, it's all to Yellow. Tie game!
Oh, Yellow, I am so glad you scored that. I know this doesn't look like the most high-pressure situation, but I assure you that it is. Ball rolling on the ground near 0 seconds. You have the most open net you'll ever see in this entire tournament staring at you, and Yellow sinks it. We're headed to OT unless we get some 0-second shenanigans from Prosk here, which feels like it could happen. Yellow to the corner, they have to bury it here, USC, and they do just along the border.
That's the first moment of game mismanagement we have seen from USC. Not exactly the best time to do it either on the precipice of potential match point scenario, and you go and do that. The fair play to Northeastern Varsity. They got that original lead, they lost it. They have fought back to an overtime that you could certainly argue they have earned within their own right. Waiting, lurking. Alg is dismantled by Andro, and they get past the second. Demo on Yellow. It's Alg looking at everything happening in front of him. Solar Prosk, I thought he missed that. Great defense at the near post. Excuse me, Mr. Commentator. Yellow just waiting patiently, tries to get over the top of Alg as well, and gets it past Solar too, but that will be the end of his run.
Still a lot of flailing around, though, for Northeastern. They need resources to sustain this push. Solar from the midfield line gets blocked, and there's the space, but Yellow Demo, that's going to slow things down even further now, as Aug goes all the way from the back corner with a flip reset to boot. It was off target, had Katz in support. Solar now to recycle and try and get this sequence going. The USC used a whole lot in that initial push. It was a strong one. They've got to back up, and it's an own goal! Andro credited. Northeastern grabbed their first game of the series.
When I saw him going for that, I'm like, oh, are you sure, mate? Are you absolutely sure about that? And I think the answer kind of speaks for itself. They most certainly weren't sure about it. Was there a player ready to save it at the near post? With the post at the near side have saved it itself? Questions for later. The answers we have now is it's 2-1. I think it's fair to say Northeastern get away with that very heavily indeed, but it's a start, Gaugen. Now can they build off it?
The foot is very much in the door, but you mentioned answers being given. I have so many questions. I feel like we just went through series whiplash in the final 90 seconds of regulation to that overtime, because if, just speaking in my own opinion, if we have another regulation win for USC and we go to 3-0 in the series, I say, yes, this series, looks close for a sweep, but is it really? Because, all of these games have been kind of close. And then that mismanagement happens at the end and they score the most open net I've ever seen in my entire life. And then I start to say, okay, maybe this will be a very close sweep. And then that miraculous own goal happens, and I've lost all ability to mentally comprehend what I'm looking at, which, I mean, what Rocket League series would be complete without complete mental just shock and awe, right? It feels like we have to have that at some point. That's the stage that I'm at least. I don't know how you're feeling about what we just saw, but
yeah, I think that was USC frustration, honestly. I mean, they literally had the game win in the palm of their hands. They had match point scenario staring down the barrel at them, and then it's like, oh, whoops, we all pressed too high, and oh, whoops, we're a little bit spread too out on defense, and oh, whoops, that's an own goal for the record books. Yeah, I don't know. We talk about the mentals of Northeastern and how they've had to reset hard, and to their credit, I think they are looking a lot better than game 2 at the very least. But now, yeah, as much as we have answers, big questions to be asked of, USC, how did they let that situation get away from them? And is that going to affect them long term? Well, it's certainly affecting Northeastern Varsity. Look at the again, look at the prowess. Look at the confidence to go for such plays. That can only bode well.
Great sequences to start, and they will be rewarded. Angebro grabs the first for Northeastern, and the train keeps chugging right along, is stuck in the corner. Everybody eyes up the ball, and nobody's got their eyes on the prize except for Angebro.
It's pure desperation as well from Solo, who sees Cats in the way. There's only one way that they can move that ball downfield, and that's going around Cats. Now out on the other side has a 50 that Yellow wins mightily. He is again through the corner. 2 Cats cross waiting. That's going to go helplessly wide. It almost feels like a complete role reversal. Northeastern living in the heads of USC rent-free.
As we continue on as well, some answers being provided in the rest of the bracket. It's results time, my favorite. Well, not my favorite time, but one of my favorite times. You know, I've got to leverage how many favorite times I have in all these series. Some preliminary matches have wrapped up. It's actually Bowling Green State that are going to advance from that opening matchup to face off against UT Dallas. Terps Esports of Maryland will be going up against Cal as they take a 6-game victory over Thomas College. Nearly a double, nearly a own goal off the double, and Cross just saves it away. Okay, quickly happened. Ohio State Gray managed to get a sweep over the University of Alaska. Those are all your results, Relic. Back to you.
What was that? It's like, is there it feels more like Among Us as a traitor in our midst. My goodness. Anyway, the score has remained the same. That's the important thing to take away from all that. Still 1-0 in favor of Northeastern Varsity. I mean, look, a 1-0 lead is precarious at the best of times. This feels positively asking for trouble, though Prosky's done really well to dance past it. I mean, it's 2v1. Prosky's... Why? Why did you make the extra touches? Andrew was there, dude.
I don't know. If this was an American sports league, professional sports league,
No
you'd be
way.
asking questions about whether or not this whole thing is fixed. Okay, we've got the goal. Angebro takes one from the top of the box. I'm with you. I'm kind of struggling to make sense of some of the things I'm seeing here.
Look at Yellow going across the box. He could have had a touch on that as well. And shot straight at him. Okay, it's 2-0. It's 2-0. Through the chaos theory that we've just had to try and study up on here. It's going to be 2-1.
I know. Numbers are hard sometimes. There are so many numbers to think about. So many, maybe that's what's happening with the players. They're just thinking about all the numbers. It's information overload. They really just need to hit ball in goal, win game. And clearly, it's been done 3 times thus far this game. You know, some players are a bit more keen to the fact. Unfortunately, we've seen, you know, some fantastic own goals, or at least attempts at own goals. I don't know why that one went in. I really don't. As much as I can keep up this charade of understanding plays and things that happen, why do we have 2 defenders in the near corner? I don't know.
Very strange, and Cats is pushed way too far out of the pitch to realistically have a chance of reaching that. And even if they were a little bit further back, credit to Cross. Cross was on the way to getting a bump at the near post, so Yellow would have had, an unobstructed view of the goal to shoot at himself anyway. Solo, that's a little bit too high for your teammates to get good serve. But Cats has been able to put it on target, goes far post. What is this game?
This is Game 7 form if I've ever seen it. Just throw anything and everything at the goal, see what sticks, and my goodness, somebody's put rumble magnets in those things. It is just attracting the ball to an unreal degree. Does not matter what team you play for. I'm convinced we're going to see 5 more. Yellow, hit it. Bang! Oh, what a goal! Come on!
This one looks mightily impressive, but unfortunately that one chip up takes 2 out the play, and the third just throws themselves at it. It's like me playing actual soccer on an actual real-life touch grass field. It's not a pretty sight, folks.
Insert any freestyler posting a clip of their incredible goal to whatever social media platform they prefer. There's no defense. It just, like 5-2. Where are we? It feels like we've entered a completely different realm. I don't see anybody except for the one defender who gets demoed. So credit to Northeastern. It's a great kickoff play, but this doesn't feel, it feels like we've time traveled.
You All the goals, that's the most legit goal that we've probably seen all game. The fact that it's a good kickoff, followed by a good routine, crossed with the alertness and the awareness to get the demo right down the other side. Andro, who came so close to scoring an own goal in this same game, let us not forget, makes the save, but what a featurette!
We're losing it. We're losing control. Solar just races from nearly the top of the orange box to stretch that pass forward. And USC, it's 5-3. We're getting into football territory, American football territory scores here. A good field goal from USC. We'll have to see if Northeastern can secure the touchdown at this rate as Yellow goes to the sidewall. Still 100 seconds to play. Please don't just randomly float in. Angelo takes it aside, and I breathe a very short sigh of relief.
We really are going for the highest scoring game of the Rally Cry Collegiate series, I feel. Pass back to Cat, strides forward with purpose. 100 boost, doesn't get over Andro. Good challenge. Solar goes sideways, looking for Al. Finds Al, snuffed by Prosk. That's going to ricochet out, miss, but Yellow's going to follow up. No, they're not. They're turning back. Cats goes up. It's volleyball more than it is Rocket League. Allows Prosk into the equation. Andro continues this push forward, and Al got his own backboard. That's precarious. Yellow waits. Infield pass. Little too sharp for Prosk, actually, and that allows Cats the challenge.
It's so interesting.
Oh my word, it's open.
Oh no! It just, I don't know what to make of this. It feels like every player's trying to hit the ball for the sake of hitting it, and you get so many sequences that are half-baked on both sides. Now another passing play. Oh, nice catch! Almost picks it clean off of the forced pop defensively, but Prosk up to the ceiling. No boost cannot get off said ceiling for another flip. Cats with a second touch on target forces Northeastern back, but it's a 2-goal lead with less than 30 to play. Several blocks here on low boost. Andro keeps the ball away from the danger zone. A demo run does not find its target. Og fluffs the pass to Solar, but Solar sends it back, and it's not fast enough. USC may not have the speed needed after all the goals we got scored. It's gonna fall just short.
Yeah, Northeastern really turtled up, and I think that was for the better in the last 60 seconds or so. They might actually get a sixth. No, they won't. Solar with a save, but it's too little, far too late. Maybe a consolation goal down the other end. In fact, they're not going to get it. Far down and out. And we have ourselves another win for Northeastern Varsity.
Yeah. Where do we begin? When a team comes back from 0-2 down to 2-2, I typically say, let's relax and reel things in a little bit. We're seeing game 6 at least, game 7 at most. These teams just need to lock in, focus up. If ever there was a game of Rocket League where I mentally struggled to do that, after watching, it's that one. We just have an onslaught, a barrage of offensive efficiency and defensive, and just that combination, that medley that we were served in this game 4 throws so many questions both ways. Because if Northeastern brings that level of firepower and confusion to any of their opponents earlier on in the series, could we talk about a Northeastern sweep in an alternate universe? And then on the same side, USC, where has all the confidence gone? You've got yourselves very close to each other in the wrong positions, very much lacking the identity that won them the games earlier on in the series. I can't tell whether or not we're going to seesaw or this is truly Northeastern just running away once they've figured things out.
You know, 2023 was the year of cat memes on Instagram and TikTok, and 2024 took all of those memes and they've kind of condensed it into just one meme where they run through all of them in one video. And I feel like we could do that with that last game of Rocket League. Every single one of them. Dissociation cat, distress cat, the half cat, as you so very well did an impression of. It's so difficult to see how USC bounces back from that. And it's so difficult to see how Northeastern could possibly lose their confidence again after that, because they didn't play great, but they still found themselves with 5 goals in the back of the net and a 2-goal margin at the end of it all. Could have been a one-goal margin, but it wouldn't have mattered. But USC has started this game mighty fine, and they're going to tell me to shut up because they've got the go-ahead. The first one on the board.
It's exactly where they want to be, though. Force cross to make that touch across your own net. It goes to the back wall. Enough pressure on the rest of the defense that they can't respond properly, and USC finds the goal. You have reminded me, though, of a great idea. We should bring back, all these moments where we're so utterly perplexed that we can't come up with the words for whatever miraculous or not so miraculous play we've just seen. Just complete silence, and you just start hitting the soundboard. Just over and over again. I mean, it could be a way to give us time to try and make sense of things.
I'm also thinking of the bus scheme where it's all like bright sunshine on the one side and
Right.
there's a big cup of espresso on the other side, and I don't know which side these two are on, constantly exchanging seats. USC, oh, this is a big play. Ow, backboard. Oh, it's a miss. It's a big old miss at the end. And no, it's an open play. No, it's not. Cats. I think he was hoping that off respawn would go straight for it. They don't, and actually it's a good thing they did. Cats themselves picking up some boost. Solar getting involved somewhat. The ball has been left alone for a solid couple of seconds. Solar near post completely whips it again. And just like that, Galgan, another 40 seconds has gone by.
See, that earlier exchange, though, is exactly the prime situation where you want everybody in the near corner, and USC had that, courtesy of the demo. One of the players is going to respawn there anyway. Cats were moved again, but when you find the power clear in, you try and take the time to give yourself space, set up an offensive push. That's where you want everybody stacked up, not when Northeastern is breathing down on the goal. Yellow just sitting at the top of the box here, half recovering from the corner, half waiting for Prosk to just dime it up to the top of that octane.
It's an unreal pre-read from Prosk. You'd argue, as a sane person, why? But it's a good thing that he did, because otherwise that goal simply would not have been scored. And Northeastern Varsity, another roll of the dice, another 6 comes up, but are they going to get a snake eye sooner or later? Back pass, terrifying. Hansbrough gets enough on it to palm it off to the corner. Prosk now trying to reset here from square one. Doesn't get the flip reset. Straight into the hands of Cats, who goes forward. 1v2, tries to beat the two of them, but through the double commit, they find a clear.
Just wanted to say, I feel like any sane person would probably have several questions about half the stuff we see. Pure insanity defensively. It's a complete hodgepodge of defenders. They find the save, they find the clear. Yellow beams the bar. That'll put a dent in it for sure. That's almost a chance for Northeastern to score on a great transition. Hold from the midfield line from Frost. No boost though, so has to forego the follow through. Yellow challenge early. Ansbro the jump off your own back wall and a second touch to boot. That's a clutch performance to make.
Yeah, but it's okay. He's got experience from earlier in the series, and now Prosk maybe looking for something technical, something fancy, but nothing to be found. Angebro can't stop Owl. Yellow goes up, throws it over to the far corner. Still tie game, still tie series. Angebro, no boost, misses out on Cat, trying to find that pass, ain't gonna get it. Good bump, good disruption on Al, who runs himself around, goes for the solo play, little too wide.
Sent right back out to Cats, though, who's waiting, attempts to take the low challenge, unsuccessful. Solar with a follow-through. Og picks it up and goes at the one place close enough that nobody can get to in time. USC with a later lead here.
It's another double commit. Angebro and Prosk at it yet again, both going for the 100 boost. Someone has got to call it, or maybe they both did. Not exactly a great look for Northeastern Varsity, who have again gifted an opportunity to USC. All the hard work to be done again. Prosk up, Prosk destroyed.
Yeah, you can see the difference, trying to create that pressure on the back wall, but more boost, more pace for USC. They find more demos at the midfield line. It's Prosk again removed. Just trying to get involved in this sequence no matter what it takes and get Northeastern over the line again to the back wall. But the follow through from the rest of the team is insufficient here. USC back the other way. Solar takes it low, fakes everything away. Cats for a challenge unsuccessful. Og tries their hand can't get it to go. Yellow over the top of everybody, but sends it low right into the hands of Solar. And they've got 40 seconds here, USC,
Lovely
but it's
turn.
not enough time. Frost robs it at the top of the box.
Turn on a dime, 180, but it's a double commit from Solar and Cats effectively. I know Cats doesn't get anywhere near the ball in the end, but because both of them are on a similar trajectory, it's almost too much belief in the teammate there to win a challenge. Instead, ricocheting back out into the central area where Frost lies in wait, pounces upon it like a tarantula on its prey. But this one ain't done yet, Galgan. A game winner has to be found.
Frost with the early touch for Northeastern, cycles through. Angebro, the first one up on the back wall, faces pressure early on. Frost is removed. Yellow has to be careful where they advance here, but it's a good 1-2. Angebro looking to pick up boost. Yellow takes the ball all the way to the back wall and pancakes it down into the bar again for Frost. You can see making sure that they have at least one person back. Angebro goes back in rotation, and what's happened here? Northeastern with a late lead, potentially their first series lead.
It's another double commit, but Al tries to get clever with it, and instead Ange latches onto that opportunity and buries it big time. The Grim Reaper dab might just be the rather eccentric death knell of this USC roster, at least in this game. But wait, just wait a second. Pop-up no Solar's pushed up too far I say. Yellow dispossesses, and going into game 6, it's Northeastern with the series lead.
Color me convinced, Relic. This is insane. I spent all of the break before this particular game saying, I don't know if we're going to seesaw, if Northeastern's running away with it, if we are barreling down the hill at an alarming rate, headed right towards that USC site, and they are in danger. The alarm bells are ringing. It is still the USC that we know in their flashes of brilliance, where they have the capabilities to pull something off, but every single defensive sequence that is either a score for Northeastern or a close attempt on net for Northeastern looks so shaky for USC. There are double commits everywhere, defensive mispositionings. It does not feel like USC know what they want to do on defense. And you can't have that level of uncertainty in game 5 of a best of 7. 3 games on the trot now for Northeastern.
We are potentially also, I mean, let's look a little bit more positively for USC here. They could provide us with one of the rarest sights in all of Rocket League, a rare best of 7 sandwich series. Win 2, lose 3, win 2. It's all set up there in the stars, but are the stars responding to their prayers? Because it really does feel like everything is going against them right now. Again, not a flawless game from Northeastern by any stretch of the imagination, but the small signs of game mismanagement, which we saw at the tail end of game number 2, where those flaws started to rear their ugly heads, they've gotten more and more and more prominent as the series has gone on. Northeastern, I don't think are doing anything particularly special. Frost is, capable of something spectacular, but USC, they're going to be happy that they got this opening goal, quite frankly, because they need something to calm them down.
And you know what? Let's remind ourselves as well, we did actually have a best of 7 sandwich series earlier on in this tournament. I believe it was week 1 where we had UT Dallas going up against Maryville. It was indeed. UT Dallas made up the middle of that sandwich, and we know what happened after. UT Dallas managed to make the grand finals of the next tournament. So basically what I'm saying is USC continues on to win this series in 7. Then Northeastern wins the 4th closed qualifier. I think everybody is a little happy when they go home after that, yeah?
I mean, you wouldn't be happy if you're Northeastern Varsity at the moment. You could see 2 goals in the space of 14 seconds. That is a hill to climb, considering that they're on match point scenario. Let's not forget, are the nerves starting to get to them? Oh, Frost. Oh, Frost. Again, shut up, Mr. Commentator. Let me show you.
I think we've just got to understand that offensively, these teams have something about them. It's like setting confusion onto your opponent and not allowing them to make the most rational decision. Both teams have proven that they're able to do it. I mean, 25 seconds, 3 goals. Almost 30 seconds, 4 goals, as Prox saves it aside again. Now a chance for Northeastern the other way. Yellow the first to the ball, but a good proactive jump from Og. Cats demoed. Solar alone on the sidewall. Not a whole lot of pace, but still gets a challenge out of it against Prosk. Yellow can't find it, neither can Angebro. So Prosk with no boost as all of USC backs up and tries to recalculate. Able to get the touch away, but for how much longer? USC trying to establish a multi-goal lead and then some.
And that's the first minute. That's the first minute. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because we really ain't done just yet. That's a really crucial touch from Yellow and a second follow-up challenge. Everybody chasing after it with gusto. It's Solar who wins it. Infield from Angebro. Hands off to Aug. Pop up over Ange again. Try to go under Yellow, but Yellow gets a piece of it. Oh, a misread from Cats. Solar has to pick up the play. Goes for a shot, but not enough juice. Round the corner. Yellow to Prosk. No boost, hopes, and a dream. The dream ends with Owl looking to turn it into a nightmare down the other side of the field, but a miscommunication mid-air. Angebro, good shot opportunity. Goes near post. Yellow with a follow-up. 2-2.
It certainly doesn't feel like the way Angebro drew this one up, but it's going to go down as a very decent play, forcing Cats to make the early save, or at the very least challenge the ball, leaves it right towards Yellow, and nobody from USC is home to stop it. I'm starting to get a little concerned that we're going to get insanely scrappy as this game goes on, especially if we go to 7. Both of these teams throwing much less caution to the wind than they were earlier on in the series, which is kind of saying something. Both of these teams felt like they were playing with nothing to lose from the drop. What is the upper limit of that exasperation here for both of these teams?
More chips are down on the table. Somebody's going to lose big time. That much is for sure. Solar downfield to nobody in particular but the blue team. So look at this. Good pressure from Aug. Yellow. That's dangerous. That's an own goal. Oh, dearie me.
I mean, if there's something that we can take away from the own goals in this series, it's that they've been absolutely insane shots. Like if somebody pulls that off and it's not an own goal, that's going on every single highlight reel for the rest of the weekend. But I don't know where it comes through with this idea of just wanting to make a touch for the sake of doing so. Maybe you're trying to confuse your opponents. Ringing the woodwork, no goal found. USC, my goodness, it's not out of the woods just yet. Finally a clear, and Solar is chasing heavily for that one. All three in the corner. Again, that high and close clustered stack for USC to try and hammer home that possession that they had, but Solar with a quick save and transition.
It's really gone from AAA budget to an indie shoestring. Bumps, disruption, goal, 4-2.
And so much happening here. Again, Prosk just making the touch that feels necessary. Probably thinking, give my teammates time to get themselves back into position. You've just teed it up. They teach you that at very low levels in Rocket League, don't send it right off the sidewall into the center. Some attacker is going to have a read on that, put it immediately on target. That's what happens. USC, 2-goal lead, 2 minutes to play.
Oh, Yellow was waiting for that opportunity. The passing lane opens to Angebro. Short window, and ultimately they lose it in the end. From 2-0 up to level to 4-2 up. The USC Gamecocks can certainly count themselves blessed, lucky, maybe a bit of both. Yellow now looking for this third. Angebro, misread. Two different ideas, two right ideas, but they've got to be singing from the same hymn sheet, Galgan.
They certainly do. See if they can do it again as Yellow takes the ball over. Certainly has someone lining up center, but instead it's everybody from Northeastern trying to rotate out. They're playing near side, have to watch for the cross, and that's exactly what happens. Cross to pick up the ball first. Immense pressure from Og just to get an immediate touch. So that allows Solar to walk right in, tapped home, and a little bit of security here for Cats.
3 shots, 3 goals. Cats, a predator in their heyday, domesticated, but there was nothing domesticated about this performance from this particular player, taking the series by the scruff of the neck and desperately trying to get his team to come along with him for the ride that might very well end up in the fabled game number 7.
The sort of performance from USC feels a lot more at home earlier on. in the series. It begs the question, where was this all along? But you can't really ask that at this stage. They're poised and ready for that Game 7 appearance. Both teams have earned it to get to this stage. It's been scrappy on both sides. We've seen some of the most amazing own goals I've ever seen on both ends of the pitch. So it well and truly feels as even as it could get, as now a quick break. Solar, that's a tough ball to corral. Will not immediately get it on target. It's a beautiful center pass, but Og couldn't trust it.
It's a let-off, but it might just have bought enough time to get this one over the line. 3 goals required, 10 seconds apiece, and it's looking less and less likely as the milliseconds count on down. Aug waits, commits the challenge, and the ball goes as far away from anybody as possible. Is this the pandemic or what? Cross round the corner, meets traffic, Angebro round the corner, sees Yellow, puts too much on it, Yellow too far forward, and it is going to be Game 7. Fantastic for us, absolutely terrifying for them, but good news for you, audience, it's the first one on stream.
Always a good thing to see more Rocket League. We have spent, quick maths here. I know math is one of the things that I'm categorically the worst at. We're coming up on about 55 minutes, I think, of runtime on this series, and it's mostly been because there have been so many goals, so many own goals, so many great passing plays. We've seen individual mechanical displays. There's been a little bit of something for everyone, but the point that I'm getting at when we're going into Game 7 is that makes this so much harder to predict than it needs to be, because it well and truly could be a stomp for either side. It could be a close one for either side. We could see what we saw early on where, USC get the early lead. Will Northeastern make the comeback? They're 1 goal away. We've got 10 seconds. Who knows? And you want to back them to do it, but you don't at the same time. Confusion is really kind of stepping its game up, I feel like, at least on my end. That's where I'm at. I feel like either team has a well-deserved right to take this series, which, then again, that's where you want to be. You want both of these teams to play their best that they can.
Yeah, I think we're in a position which we don't often find ourselves as commentators, where really the only safe judgment I'd be able to make is if a team is 3 goals to the good with 10 seconds to go, they've probably won the game. And that's about as safe a decision I'm going to make in terms of predictions for this one, because you're spot on. Even with 2 early goals, even with 3 early goals, there are absolutely no guarantees, because there is no player out there who seems to be at any point looking like a calm amongst the storm. Even Katz, who had a great performance last time out, was really benefiting off the good work from his teammates. Speaking of, Aug with 1 within 5.
Yeah, this is simultaneously the best sign for USC and probably the worst sign for Northeastern. I think one of the things one of the things that I settled on, I think, was that Northeastern need an early start more so than USC does. I get that we've seen some wild goals like that, and that one that we see there off the kickoff certainly fits within that realm, but USC seem like the kind of team to get comfortable if they get the early lead, whether or not that's a good or a bad thing. And then again, this could all be pointless conjecture. Maybe Northeastern want to go down early and have that motivating factor.
Do we know what we're talking about? Do the players know what they're doing? Oh, anybody guess at this point, really? yeah. Hope is really the only thing keeping this series alive together right now. That's an open net, speaking of. Hopium, anyone? Cats with another.
Unfortunately, Hope is not quite tangible enough to save, any shot at your net. So you got to provide a little bit more if you're Northeastern. We know that they can. We know that they will. But it's been 41 seconds, math. We established this literally 2 minutes ago. 41 seconds and change in the opening minute. USC, look at this. They scored 2 early on, and they're not afraid to double commit mere inches from the ceiling because they understand the Northeastern may not always come back with a strong transition as that, forcing the early save. Top of the box, Frost couldn't get to the right angle at time. And Northeastern, one of their better chances to score early on here. Can they get something back as Frost goes off the back wall again? Og with a quick and proactive clear.
Return to sender, and Katz almost gets one. Far post! Oh, heroic save from Yellow. 4 players go for the ball. Every single one of them misses it. Yellow doesn't really get a launch off the backboard. He was looking more straight to Al. Backboard, Solar, top pocket, no!
Real rough look for USC not to score in a situation like that. Northeastern struggled to get their wheels off the ground. Now trying to do that, but on the other side of the field, Og with another quick clear. Katz is cheating up at the corner, sends an awkward bouncer on, and Yellow couldn't react in time. USC start to get the train rolling.
Yeah, I hate to single folks out, but it has been a truly traumatic minute or so for Yellow. So many missed touches of the ball, defensively or offensively speaking. Even there, he was in a decent enough position where I would be expecting at the very top level of Collegiate for you to make that save, but they don't. They misread it, they panic, and now it is panic for the rest of the squad, because there is that 3-goal margin that I was alluding to earlier. They have got to get one on the board stacked, otherwise this one's going to run away.
So much on the line for both of these teams to try and grab some more points. Northeastern looking for a good early show, get themselves on the leaderboard. Katz from out inside the net, but doesn't even need it. Set back on target, however, and that's where Katz activates. USC with a very strong defensive stance, and Og with a nice demo. This game feels like it's on ice.
I really agree. Couldn't agree more. Great counter-attack, punchy. Yellow completely isolated. There is actually nothing that they could do on that one. 2v1, out counts the boost, turns on the jets, gets the demo, and there was no way that they were going to miss that one. 4 goals just on the precipice of half-time. Not to say that Northeastern can't score 4 goals in the next 2.5 minutes, Galgan, but on the case of what we've seen thus far, looking very, very, very unlikely.
The problem that we saw earlier on in the series, bit of disconnection with Northeastern. All 3 players need to be within the same realm, on the same mindset at a time. And USC, that patented high press again, when they know that Northeastern can't play it fast enough, get in their faces. Now a nice clear on the 1-2, however, ends up center, and that's a great way to get your foot in the door.
It's a big clear. It's through Yellow, helped on by Frost. Angie's running straight through the middle, doesn't miss. That's 1. 3 more to go, but it still feels like a mountain from here.
You want to believe in them. You well and truly do. Demo off the kickoff is going to slow things down. Not for Yellow, however, uses all the boost to try and pressure that ball, and does. Quick turn in from Angebro. Prosk, however, ended up center rather than right behind that ball in support. You've got to back the chances of the center pass coming out, so I don't hate that play. They quickly transition it, and now USC gives a little bit more space. This is something we've seen all series long. USC get a big lead, then they start to give a little bit more space. They grant more buying power for Northeastern on offense. The question is, Northeastern have to grab it by the horns and really try and take this for a ride.
Solo with the same. He has to make. That's over the top of Alk. Cat straight to Yellow. Oh, Yellow wasn't having any of that. Slams the door shut on the escape rope. 2 goals to go.
The only explanation that I come to is that this feels routine in the worst possible way for USC. They've got a 3-goal lead headed towards the final minute, and yet I sit here and I think to myself, Northeastern are looking more and more confident, almost as if they are being buffed the less time is on the clock. This is a concern for USC. You've got to give yourselves that level of security, even with a 3 or a 2-goal lead. It may not be enough as Northeastern look to try and add more here as we get into the final minute, but a big demo, open backfield, Katz with a shot to sink, but can't do it.
Sliced. No dice. Yellow over the top of Augen. How alive is he come? Oh my goodness, Prosk going for the spectacular. Solar, little boost to work with. Prosk helped out by Aug here as Solar as they move forward together. That's going to be intercepted by Angebro. Katz goes backwards onto the backboard. Prosk still lurking. Where's Yellow? Angebro misses. Yellow now has to double back. Picks up 100 on the way. Katz in field. Prosk. Yellow moves forward. There's going to be no backboard touch for him. Meanwhile, Ange gets a shot away, but it's too weak.
15 to play. Og attempting to clear. It's a soft pop, not good enough. Prosk goes bottom corner but misses. Yellow has to fade this one away. Angebro with a quick turn sends it on target. Katz no save. Follow through, and Solar plucks it from Angebro. Surely had the shot on lock, but that's the concession. That's the series done and dusted. USC with a 7 game, victory. Relic, in trying to find a place to land after this series, I struggle. I really, really do, because I talked about it being potentially a close sweep, and then Northeastern really started to show their teeth, and we got categorically as close of a series as we could have possibly had. But at the end of the day, if Northeastern was always playing for the comeback and USC was always giving them the ability to come back, was this ever really Northeastern's series to win, or was it always destined to go USC's way?
USC tried their damnedest to lose that series. They really did. I think you were spot on the money. They were conceding so much space. Like, I understand wanting to be a little less gung-ho, but that's how soccer works. And even then, you're still asking for a bit of trouble should the opponent score a goal. In Rocket League, you can't afford to let your foot off the gas by turtling up. You are effectively asking your opponents to have free shots on net in a very fast-moving esport. And that's exactly what Northeastern saw in front of them as a prospect. They did grab it with both hands, but I really do think that just near the end there, very similar shades to game number one, they just panicked a couple of times. There was a movement a little too far upfield so that the third man didn't really have as much influence as they should have had. Shots that were just for the sake of shooting rather than looking to set up from a disadvantageous position. We saw some great looks from Northeastern, but I think they're going to look back on this series, and to give you your answer, Galgan, I think they're going to wonder on another day, had we showed a bit more composure, should we really have won this?
Right, but I feel like there's so many ways that could go, in the sense of both teams saying opposite things. Like, you could make a case for either team winning this series a little bit quicker, but at the end of the day, when we sat there at the end of game 2 and went, USC, they always feel like one step ahead, it's tough to make the case that Northeastern get out of that with a win in 4 or 5 games, but so many hypotheticals that you could talk about. I want to touch on the point you brought up about such a fast-moving game. At a base level, yeah, Rocket League happens so quickly to the point where you need to be on it in communications, and we saw that fall through a couple of times for some of these teams where they move too quickly for their own liking, and that's where maybe you don't see the fastest goal being scored or the fastest clear that just ends up in the back of the net. But it's because everybody's playing so fast, using their resources off the ball, that they end up sending everybody into a frenzy. And we see own goals like that, where you're trying to calculate what's the best possible touch that I can make. You go for the touch. Oops, it's right into the hands of an opponent who was waiting there the entire time.
It was 3 own goals at the end, wasn't it? I don't think I've seen so many own goals in a long, long time. Admittedly, the series length does lend itself to those, opportunities becoming a little more frequent. Even still, it's a hectic series. I don't think that Northeastern are going to be too rattled. Especially, this was their first series of the Rally Craig Collegiate series, by the way. What a way to make your introduction. But certainly USC are going to be breathing a sigh of relief. Or are they? They're going to be going up against UT Dallas in the semi-finals, who, by the way, 4-0 Bowling Green State, not showing any sort of fallacy that we were potentially putting upon them by being the favourites. They are looking every bit the part that we would expect. And now, sky's the limit, I say with a question mark. I think that if this is how they performed against the 5th seed in this tournament, Galgan, I think UT Dallas is going to be looking at these opponents and rubbing their hands together for the stat padding.
I would have to agree. I feel inclined to do so, but at the same time, both of these teams, you say this about any high-level team. When they have it, they have it. When it clicks, you can clearly see it. I do agree that both of these teams are going to be challenged defensively. Both of these teams would be challenged defensively, especially USC now that they're moving on to play against UT Dallas. They're going to have to be a bit more sure of themselves on these pushes rather than the full 3-stack in the near corner that we saw time and time again. They find a power clear into that area. They all want to bunch up, get a strong 3-headed push. Someone from UT Dallas is going to pull the ball clear and be able to have their way with the transition play. So that could become an issue, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it on Sunday. as both of these teams move into the rest of play, obviously we talked about the points implications too. This is 10 points for Northeastern Varsity. It does put them into the picture, I believe, after everything shakes out, although there are a lot of teams now bunching up on 10 points, so it'll be fairly low down on the pecking order, but they've got next weekend to potentially make a big impact, maybe with less of the higher up teams showing up to play. It makes it all the more important for Northeastern to continue this good momentum.
Yeah, their wish right now is exactly as you say, that there's going to be no teams turning up in week 4 who want to better their seeding for the playoff bracket, because if that is the case, that more likely secures them a quarterfinal berth. I think if they hit the quarters again in week 4, it puts them on 20 points. I'd imagine it would likely make them safe, because I look at the likes of Rowan, Oakland, who haven't turned up. I think Drexel Dragons should be fine, but then Michigan State White, we've not seen Akron Gold turn up. Obviously, USC is going to be getting a lot of points from this, so they're going to be jumping from 5 to at least 30, so they're almost certainly safe through winning this particular encounter. But like Thomas College, University of Alaska, you know, it's almost like you don't even want to see the teams above you joining. You want to see which teams around you and below you are going to be in that week 4 bracket. But either which way, Northeastern Varsity need to be there. Otherwise, they do run the risk of not making the playoffs. And I think that would be a shame, Gaugan, because I really like the look of Prosk in particular. I think he looks like your classic 1v1 player, a bit of a diamond in the rough, could definitely learn with a bit of shot calling. And I think he would suit that role. But yeah, too many double commits. Defensively a shambles, but they've got the goal scoring potential to make series interesting, so we'll see how they fare from here on out.
Exactly. Those USC Gamecocks will advance to tomorrow's play in the semifinals to face off against UT Dallas, the #1 seed of this weekend's broadcast. But we have one more quarterfinal to show you today. We head to the 2 versus 7 matchup. It is the University of Maryland Terps esports team going up against UC Berkeley for a spot in the semifinals against either Drexel or Ohio State. Again, that matchup, Terps esports versus Cal, on the other side of this short break.
We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's going to happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. The life we have chosen has prepared us for this. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disasters and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now. how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's going to happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny.
Well, our trip to the Rally Cry Collegiate Series, brought to you by the Army National Guard theme park, has been a rather exciting one. The roller coaster ride was a little bit helter-skelter, you could say, between UCS Gamecocks and Northeastern Varsity. 4-3 if you missed it. Don't miss it on the rewatch, please. It's definitely worth checking out. And is there another Game 7 brewing here in the quarterfinal stage? I'm Relic, I'm joined by Galgan, and upcoming next on your screens, Terps versus Cal. They've shared an opponent in common, but it seems that the seeding has them pretty close together, and I can see why.
Yeah, both of these rosters, you can expect greatness from them at times, much like anybody else in this field. There are certainly moments that these teams are going to have. Both of them have been full participants in the event thus far, both placed well on the leaderboard up until this point. But much like what we said over prior weekends, where we get these, closely seeded matchups early on in the tournament, important for both teams to establish themselves over each other. This is as much of a grudge match as you'll find in these weekends of play, because not only are these teams looking to get past each other in the standings overall, but they're looking to get past each other for seeding into the playoffs, try to establish themselves as the better team, give themselves easier matchups once we get into those playoffs. But enough about playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. We're talking about the third weekend of closed qualifiers. It's UC Berkeley up against the University of Maryland here in the quarterfinals of the third weekend of play. Hexy, JD, and Boog will take to the field of Maryland, and Terps Esports up against Bacon, Civil Pangolin, and Doc Swag of Cal. Relic, we've seen both of these teams before. You mentioned the common opponent as well, that common opponent being those Pescados of Fisher College. It was week 1 where Cal was able to take one game off of the Pescados of Fisher College before dropping that series. And in week 2, it was Terps Esports who found themselves against those same Pescados and were swept away. That alone, you know how reliable the law of common opponents is, and I'm not being sarcastic in the slightest. I don't know how much you buy into it here. I feel like, personally, I'm leaning a little more towards Terps Esports, but I wonder where your head's at here.
I mean, I've said as much during our break, of course. I think we're in for another Game 7, if I'm being honest. I don't look so much at previous results, especially in something as malleable as the Rally Cry Collegiate Series is. Each new bracket does bring new teams. Some teams drop out. It's not like you're facing exactly the same opponents every single week, nor is it that we're playing over 2 months worth of action. It's very concentrated in that sense. So I look more towards how far have these teams gotten in the competition overall? What do their score amounts look like? There's only 5 points separating them, admittedly in favor of Terps, which is why they find themselves with the preferential seed. And I would be edging towards them as well. But again, only after 7 games, I think this is going to be a belter.
So let's see what both of these teams have in the tank, hoping for another Game 7 in these quarterfinals, as 2 of the 3 quarterfinals that have already been played went to Game 7. That includes the one we just watched, where USC took the 7-game victory over Northeastern. Drexel Dragons went all the way to 7 to best Ohio State Gray. So that means the winner of this series we're watching right here and now will have the Drexel Dragons to face first up in tomorrow's play. But we'll get to tomorrow when we get there. I would have cried a little on the inside if we started with an own goal like that.
I would as well. Interesting to note that Turtle subbing in for the Orange team today. I'm certain in saying not that Turtle, not the musically gifted one. nor indeed one of the greater players in the early stages of Rocket League ones. But I'm sure they are a great turtle nonetheless. And speaking of, here they are after getting that pop off the bottom of the car.
Is the Dignitas decal? That's either a red herring or we are actually dealing with the turtle that we're thinking of.
Hold on.
I need to look into this a little bit because this is revolutionary information.
Wait a second. Is this turtle?
Because like, who's gonna be turtle with a Dignitas decal if it's not turtle? You know, this is. I'll let you. Hopefully, you're doing that research. Otherwise,
I'm looking into
this. Okay. I would be very interested to see the results. Meanwhile, it's gonna be Bacon who's attempting to take this ball away.
Not
no
digital
real
bacon.
pressure. Not digital bacon.
bacon.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've covered that base. Good. Do we know anybody else in the scene named Civil Pangolin? Because I feel like that's a very common name. You know, a lot of people really love those pangolins.
See, here's the thing. I look up on Wikipedia. There's Turtle the caster. Maybe the person who's just scored and opened up the game for UMD here. But there's also Turtle the Soul player, the American player, and Turtle the Below Zero player, the North American player. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of murky waters here. It's definitely not the Central American player, though, that's for sure.
You know what? I think I'm kind of convinced. There is a result on Turtle's page from March of 2023, so we are talking a year ago, but it is a result with the University of Maryland. I think that in and of itself is enough to convince me that we are quite literally watching Turtle play a collegiate series here. I am just going to choose to believe that. That's actually insane.
I'm also, go check out his music. It's really good. He scored again. The guy's popping off in every metric.
You know what? Maybe this is just what you need to win series, is just have Turtle on your team. I didn't know this was a thing. I'm very happy about it. I'm ecstatic about it. It's clearly working well for Maryland as they've got the 2-0 lead. The difference maker, I wonder whether this is, you know, that brings a couple of questions into this. Is this just a substitution based on skill? I wouldn't really think so. That's not to discredit JD. Fantastic play before. Is this, you know, a question of JD being unable to play this particular weekend? There are so many questions, understandably so, that I now feel like they need answers. But for the time being, the only question left fully answered. Maryland, very strong start to this series. Can't punch on the third. We'll take a 2-0 lead.
You know what? I'm so glad that my information is being disproven in the best way. It's always exciting when we get moments like this. And speaking of Oxwag over the near post, there's actually been not much of a look-in really for Cal, but I think slotting into that sub-coach role then is Turtle. At least that's how I understood from the sign-up sheet what they were asking of him, not to be a primary player, but somebody who could sub him. And again, let us re-emphasize, both Terps and Cal both need the points. It's going to be almost a free buy for week number 4 for whichever of these teams makes it to the quarterfinals in the first place. And having an ex-Atelier, ex-Dignitas caliber player on your squad, doesn't matter from how long ago, it's experience. And he's watched the modern game evolve from behind the mic. And also, he's behind that ball to make an exquisite save.
This is honestly crazy. I feel like we would have slightly moved on from this point if it weren't for the fact that Turtle is pulling so much weight on both sides here for Maryland right now. Not to discredit anybody else, but Surly being one of the pivotal points. Hexy nearly with a double tap for some very tasty icing on that cake. But Maryland look comfortable as ever to take this first game. There's only 20 seconds left. Cal have had their looks in, but it's not enough to window shop at the prize. You've got to grab it as much as you can.
I went to have a look to see whether he tweeted out whether he was doing this. No, casual as always. I miss when Pokemon had a good art style. Interesting opinion. But you know what? I'm happy with the style of Rocket League that I'm seeing here on the pitch from all 3 of these UMD players. I said that Cal hadn't really had much of a sniff at net, and I'm going to stick by that. 1 or 2 opportunities, perhaps the maximum. This is one of the cleanest 2-0s that you will see in a long, long time, folks. Disruption plays, confidence in possession. This is exactly what Terps needed, and then they go and concede, but it's only a consolation. Doc Swag will at least be happy to get 1 on the board, but they can need a lot more than that in game number 2.
All right, it's one of those sequences that you can't read into super heavily. Maybe they don't play the ball that way if it's at 0 seconds, but I don't know. There are so many hypotheticals to work into. First game, and a solid one at that for Maryland. They're well on their way, but we know better than to trust early indications of a series. The only thing that bothers me here is that game 1 of the prior series that we watched, both teams were firing very heavily. There were defensive missteps. It felt like an offensive onslaught, but at the end of the day, you could see the process for both sides. This time around, UC Berkeley, as you rightly put it, struggled to get that momentum going on the offensive side, and that's where I get worried. That is my chief concern, is wondering, where is the step up if we haven't seen even little inklings of it yet? How soon will they be able to bring out that second gear?
It was very flat, wasn't it? It was very flat as a performance. It wasn't bad, but a 6 out of 10 ain't going to get you an A star on the examination paper, unfortunately. So what would I like to see? I'd like to see a little more risk reward, even if it means that you're conceding more goals at the end of the day. You need to be able to unsettle your opponents, and that's a step of confidence. It's not exactly an easy step, especially when you are facing, as it turns out, somebody of Turtle's old caliber, somebody who's been around the scene for such a long time. And those players who are going to be with him, they're going to be buzzing. You know, they're playing with a certified Rocket League icon. So that in of itself is going to be a boost to the morale. You can't lose on the kickoff of that as well. But the Doc Swag, he had the best chances. He actually puts one away near the end. It's only a 1-goal game ultimately. I'd like to see them get a go-ahead goal. Otherwise, I do see a similar pattern playing out.
Let's find out whether or not the University of Maryland can keep this momentum rolling, or if UC Berkeley do have that next step forward. Civil Pangolin to get things started. Quick jump from Bacon, plenty of pace. Doesn't find it, so it's going to be that Civil Pangolin to try and initiate again. Full pitch effort here for the team, trying to recycle this ball through. Maryland are certainly inviting them in. Whether or not the ball ends up on target as it's ping-ponged back and forth between the corners, that's a different issue. Now rotating back, Hexy gets one to drop down. So many committing from the corner there. Bacon bides time on the back wall, and a solid second and third touch to get away forces Hexy out of the picture. So Maryland don't have as confident as a start as they may have liked, but they're still doing such a great job of keeping the ball away from the orange net as much as possible.
It's a lot more responsible from UC Berkeley, actually, in their own defensive third. And I do like that, because the last thing that you want is a heavy touch or a giveaway that just sets up for the next opportunity via Terps. And we'll see what they do with this particular phase as Turtle moves forward, gets a chip up over 1. But you can already see the difference. UMD not as willing to push up themselves, because they know that Cal are taking no chances for themselves. And here, Bacon going across the pitch, forcing Boog into a challenge. It's loose. Okay, Hexy wins the race, but he doesn't actually hit the ball, and then the follow-up challenge goes nowhere. It's a neutral. This is suiting Cal just fine, and their plan now will be to try and frustrate UMD into an overcommitment, which they can then go on and punish.
Plenty to do, though, for UC Berkeley to get to that stage, trying to force Maryland around at will. Much taller task than they may have anticipated. 3 minutes to play. Centered up here, Boog will happily take over that ball, try and force through the corner. Turtle with a quick turn, going for the challenge, gets the ball clear instead, and Boog, no bump, no demo, just tried to be stronger and say, nah, I'd win. Unfortunately didn't, but it's not going to make a whole lot of difference in the grand scheme of things. Maryland still with a solid midfield hold. Doc Swag looking for any bit of reprieve from this pressure that Maryland are able to exert. Couple of challenges, see their way clear. Hexy lining one up down center. Civil Pangolin, good block, goes off the sidewall. And nice reads from the players of UC Berkeley. They're able to keep that ball relevant. The midfield battle still highly contested, going for those boosts when they can. What a freak pinch off the long clear, and the bottom corner is just a bit too close for that shot to go through.
Oh, and that was a free read as well from Civil Pangolin. Doc Swag misses. Open net. Bacon saves the day. Should say he saved the bacon. Haha. But unfortunately, they're still under pressure for the moment. Civil Pangolin doesn't exactly help the case. It's a slow movement forward and easily dispossessed. Hexe flip reset, utilizes that flip, but doesn't really get much power generated. Turtle now up on the sidewall. Again, intercepted. Bacon breaks free. You can see that there's a common enemy between all 6 of these players, and that is being demoed. You imagine if one demo is going to completely unlock the defense, might lead to the clearest cut opportunity of the lot, and this really does scream 1-goal game to me. Oh!
No.
Downfield!
And there it is. Civil Pangolin just waiting for the ball to be ushered through. Hexy had a solid chance, but one challenge, one touch right after. Quick 1, 2, 3. It works time and time again for any team that dares to implement it. And UC Berkeley, really solid passing play in transition.
Not exactly how I was imagining it, but you have one player out of rotation, 2 players rotating back into defensive postures, and a player in the perfect place who gets the perfect connection. There is another demo. Bacon invited on. Lovely 1-2. Turtle back and trying to chase down this one. Civil Pangolin. Turtle gets there first. Hexy waiting. Oh! And Doc Swag getting a little bit scuttled up in and amongst himself almost, it seems. Bacon again with a big clear. And I really appreciate Bacon's calm and how much work he's doing in helping his team travel down the field. And indeed how he passes over to the far side of the pitch and into areas where UMD are not. This is the crucial thing as we enter the final minute.
Truly trying to play as selfless as possible. Give the ball up for the passing lane. Big save in and out. Demos raining down on the orange side, and Civil Pangolin attempts to keep this ball in rotation for UC Berkeley. Cycled through by Doc Swag, who's trying to get into the scoring column. Now challenged by Bacon early. High press against University of Maryland. They get the ball moving on a transition, however, to the corner. Awkward touch for Doc Swag. Nobody really has full control, but Boog still has to back up to an insane degree.
Far side of the pitch, Civil Pangolin looking for the pinch, little boost, challenge, Bacon backboard, Bacon up, all 3 players from Orange looking. Hexy deals with it first, and the chip over to Turtle, intercepted by Pangolin. Is Turtle again, just seconds left on the clock, and Bacon puts it right back into the Orange D. It's Doc Swag, up it goes, Civil Pangolin for the drop down, for the spike, through the corner. Bacon on target, is it no off the post and away? Turtle tries to keep it up, does so, but nobody's able to latch onto this one. It's a response, and a strong one indeed from Cal.
And we get a much different feel to this series this time around for both of these teams. Clean sheets on either side lead to a tied series score. So you start to have many different conversations about where this one ends up. You know, defense is one thing, being proactive at the top of your zone is another, and I feel like both of these teams have that issue at the forefront of what they want to be doing. Take the shot opportunity away before it comes to a head. But this kind of starts to concern me now, where we saw the 0-second goal go in. So that actually rules out the clean sheet theory. Forget about it. Unless you don't count that goal, you know, in garbage time, then I have a little bit of validity in that argument. But that sort of idea of momentum, it's a scary word to use in Rocket League because it doesn't really hold its weight super often. But when it does, it becomes a frightening issue for a team to get over, a boogeyman of sorts. And I'm a little worried that this could be the start of Maryland struggling to get over that proverbial hump. I don't know if that's purely conjecture, though, if they, you know, come back and have a really confident start to one game, that all that's washed away. I feel like there are still so many hypotheticals to work through.
Yeah, I think this is more on Cal tightening up the defensive rotation more than anything. You know, it wasn't bad in the first place, but I think it was just the opportunities were there for the Terps to be able to exploit certain shooting opportunities. This time around, there was nothing for them. Absolutely zilch. And the majority of that came through short passes, or like I said, if you're going to throw the ball away, throw it into an area where no one else is, or ideally where one of your teammates is chasing into. That does rely on a lot of communication, but you could tell that the comms channels were open and flowing with dialogue. I like that Bacon was allowed to sit back. You know, it's a little bit more of a, I mean, heralding back to Turtles times of season 5 to season 7. It's a lot more set roles Rocket League, which is a little bit out of meta at the moment, but I feel at CRL level where things can get chaotic. Just look to what we were commentating on 30 minutes ago. That sometimes is the sort of structure that you need to get results over the line. And this is that sort of result. Like, it's 1-0. It's unspectacular, but it was also incredibly solid. They didn't ever look like they were going to concede.
Exactly. That's what you need. That building of the momentum going into the rest of the series. Make sure that it seems as impossible, even though it categorically is not impossible. We know no lead is safe, but try and get your opponents into that mindset of we need to do so much work just to take one confident step against these opponents that we have across from us. Again, this series is one that's anticipated to be close. We saw Game 7, you were talking about it, more than likely going to happen. I'm starting to believe it too, because both of these teams clearly have it within them to, you know, get to that stage. The question is, like, we're going to keep going in this. Teams are going to go step for step, try to outpace each other. Somebody's got to get a couple clear at one stage. We well and truly won't just completely, you know, one dominant game for Maryland, one dominant game for Berkeley, go back and forth over and over. But my question, what I look for these players is who finds that it factor first? Who is the most confident to set themselves up for a high-risk, high-reward play and really reap the benefits?
Or who's not willing to risk it, and who's just going to be that solid 8 out of 10 player from start to finish that you can rely on in every single moment. And right now, for me, that is Bacon, although he's going to be getting a nosebleed so far up the field compared to where he was at least in game number 2. But check this out, another huge flick downfield, and of course he's the one to chase. He's the furthest player forward, but he's generated so much time and an opportunity to potentially get a couple of shots on target. Unfortunately, the move falls apart on this occasion, but I really like what I'm seeing. A Turtle there won't be what he was seeing in front of him. There was a great opportunity to redirect, and unfortunately that one's been burned as well.
We'll have to recycle things, but first primary objective here is blocking the transition, and you could tell that was a strong one from UC Berkeley. Doc Swag runs in after Civil Pangolin with the early touch, Bacon for the second, and it's still a 1-2-3 for UC Berkeley.
It's 250s that have gone in favor of Berkeley. And it's again Bacon who's in the right place at the right time. Doesn't need to win the challenge, just needs to set it up for that next player coming through. And that's exactly what it pans out to be. It's a 1-goal advantage. Looking for a second. Coast near post. Oh, so close to saving it was Boog. Even got the save registered. But Civil Pangolin, it had enough on it.
Just enough power to see its way through. Really tough bounce off that near post as well. The angle unforgiving for the UMD defense. They can't find the save despite the best efforts. Everybody stacked up. It's a quick 2-0 for UC Berkeley. You start to see that runaway factor, that momentum that I'm talking about build up for the side of Cal. But they've still got to shore up their own lines. Not safe home just yet.
Good opportunity. Boog off the post and away. Big challenge from Turtle, and tries to get that follow-up. It's a save from Bacon. Around the corner, it's Hexy. Oh, loses sight of the ball. Readjusts very well, actually, but again, Bacon into no man's land. No boost. Misses out on the challenge. Turtle, backboard, round off, but on that backboard is Civil Pangolin, and that was the perfect infield pass. Unfortunately, there was no one to put it home.
Still got their chances. That one ricochets well off the back wall. Hexy was going to be the first one up to take the shot. Can't connect. Finally have to back up here for lack of contact with the ball off the midfield line. And all of a sudden, UC Berkeley flip the table and try and get their own offense cooking. Doc Swag, early challenge, blocked aside. Bacon goes in and out from the midfield line to keep that push going and make sure everybody's got resources. Now turning through the midfield battle. Again, it feels like that's where UC Berkeley want this game to be. They're not necessarily too upset with Maryland pushing up, trying to get space. UC Berkeley know where they need to be at the midfield line, and they provide a very strong hold.
So they're more confident because they're going for the demos now. Backboard, Pangolin back into the center, but nobody there to pick it up because both of them were rotating out or falling from the sky with little boost. Into Pangolin! Venomous strike! 3!
A team that plays with confidence pulls off sequences like these. You need it in order to have it. And Civil Pangolin jumps over 2 defenders who do not have any rights to save that ball for being far too grounded. It's a runaway, or at least we're starting to get there for UC Berkeley.
Such a convincing first outing in game number 1. Terps are in the mud. 2 minutes to attempt to adapt to some level of degree. Like, they need a goal, at least to settle the nerves going into the next one. If they can score the last goal of the game, my goodness, that's how we saw Cal start off their resurgence, as we can certainly see now. Turtle doesn't even get a chance. Exy picks up the pieces, but gives it up to Pangolin, and it's thrown away yet again.
We'll have another look from the midfield line to go. Nobody hits it. Turtle still blocks at the back wall, so that'll slow down UC Berkeley's primary chance of clearing this ball away. But Doc Swag simply does not care. Will flail away somewhat helplessly. Bacon tries to play that one low, understands Turtle is in an awkward spot, now turns it from the corner. Civil Pangolin off the back wall. And all of this time taken off the clock, all of these challenges, all of this confident play, forcing Maryland to hit shots like this. Boog gets stuffed on the double, and the crossbar, with a little help from Bacon, denies that shot coming through. 60 seconds just about to play.
When it rains, it pours, and the waterworks at UMD are starting to flow. Tears because they simply can't catch a break. Exy, great defense at the near post yet again. Pangolin's on his bike, doesn't outsmart Turtle. Bacon again keeps it close and finds that follow-up touch. No boost, it's Boog, and he's tripped up by his own teammate.
That's truly unfortunate here, Maryland, but Demo's still raining in, and Bacon stands strong at the top of the box. It was dead center. Could have used a little bit of movement, but Turtle would take any shot that they could get. Couldn't find the accuracy. Now from the far corner, Civil Pangolin denies, and the defense standing as tall as they ever could to defend a 3-goal lead with time winding down. Finally, Turtle goes off the bar, and Boog has to punch it home.
I mean, when it isn't your day, it really isn't your day. Required a demo and then a follow-up after an extraordinary save from Doc Swag. It's going to be Boog with the goal. And at least UMG's on the board. They deserve it for their perseverance. But, so much time is eroded off the clock that Cal have got this one sewn up with a pretty bow on top indeed. Might not be the clean sheet, but you know what? It's going to put them into the series lead, and that's what matters.
It's a pivotal time to score. They get it done before that proverbial garbage time where, Cal is just keeping this ball up for the sake of doing so at 0 seconds and you get a lucky goal. No, it's a decent one for Maryland that at least gets them started in the right direction. And I say that as if this series isn't still close, because it's just now one game in the favor of Cal. The question that I have, though, for Maryland moving forward is, you just went, more or less 10 minutes without scoring, finally finding that foothold. But are you comfortable trying to make those comebacks over the course of the rest of the series? Because you're running out of time, right? It's 2 games now for Cal. This series is going to start to move a lot faster. And if UC Berkeley is constantly going to put you on the back foot and you're not comfortable with righting yourself and carving a new path to go forward, you've really got to start to consider how you attack the first 2 minutes of the game to make sure that UC Berkeley don't remain as confident as they are.
But I'm going to offer this up. I think there is definitely a gulf of difference between the game number 2 Terps and the game number 3 Terps. I think the game number 2 Terps didn't adapt quickly enough to what Cal was putting up in front of them. Cal got that one good opportunity and they scored it. And it really was as simple as that. This, to me, felt like a better performance from Terps, but with those flashes of mistakes that ultimately sees them concede 3. And down the other end of the pitch, I think they used up all of their bad luck in that 2.5-minute period in the second half. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that. If we see the same level of performance, and if they cut out the mistakes, I think we're seeing a very similar situation to game 2, where it should be a tight affair, where it should only be separated by 1 goal. Now for Terps, they've got to be on the right side of the scoreline! And, well, currently at least, they most certainly are.
Just do it to him, Hexy. Jeez, second touch from the corner. Huh? That was an insane touch on the edge of that Octane hitbox. I mean, if there's any way to get yourselves back into a series mentally, Hexy hits a shot like that and the comms have to explode at that point. You've got that first step in here in game 4. Keep that ball rolling.
It's an early one. Shot of confidence in the arm for UMD. Turtle. Misses right down the court where he misses out on the second touch. Maybe a little bit wary of the bump, but Civil Pangolin completely fluffs his lines as well. Boog. Stopped by Doc Swag. Follow-up challenge. It's Hexy. Hexy all in zone. 1v2. Doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because Civil Pangolin's got a touch. And now Turtle's gone off the crossbar himself.
They've painted the woodwork so well, but the angles are unforgiving. Every single shot off of the post and the crossbar. So close and yet so far. Doc Swag almost with the self-dish. Now it's going to be Civil Pangolin nearly attempting the same, but as they don't have the boost to formulate that play. Bacon with a quick challenge. This could be a fast and ugly break for Maryland, but it's sent over to the opposite side, so Hexy has a bit more work to pull it off. Turtle with a center pass attempt. Not going to come to fruition, so sent to the side wall yet again. Midfield battle is going to be very crucial for both teams. Maryland look like they're a bit better suited now to stand the test of time.
Yeah, and Cal are placed in an awkward position where they now got to play a little more aggressively than they would like. They have to simply open up the midfield to transition into offensive posturing, and they don't want to give any sort of counter-attacking ideas to UMD because, well, UMD themselves have already got that lead. They can sit deep if they want, and they can counter-attack to their heart's content. Case study in action. Boog, Bacon misses, completely fluffs the jump. Civil Pangola takes over, and the pinch isn't great either, actually. 100 boost continues to move forward, but everyone's back for Terps.
The decently designed improvisation, however, Hexy runs back the other way, fairly open near side. Civil Pangolin closes that door, slams it shut for effect. But here goes Boog off the sidewall, looking for a center, has Hexy waiting at the midfield line, and it fell just a half second short of where Hexy was making that rotation. Now stuck in the corner, forced to challenge that one out to a shot take, but Boog with a save. Oh, ugly ghost touch on the clear attempt. Tried to get that one on target. Maryland will have to back up again.
Still a little bit more poor luck in the bottom of the bag, it seems. Turtle looking to go round the corner, but Cal take control of the situation, more specifically Civil Pangolin. Good 50, but it's gone over to the far side. Turtle's going to have to set something up and, well, return to sender, but wrong side of the field. Needs to have a little less mustard on it. That's a great shot, but it hits the post. Follow-up shot is snuffed by Pangolin.
Doc Swag rotating through, however, plenty of stretching being done for UC Berkeley to get this clear on lock, and they do. Turtle with a misread off the back wall. That opens the door for Civil Pangolin. Double and sends it on target, but it's a bouncer right into the hands of Hexy, who wants a second touch. Denied as Bacon jumps up early, closing in on 90 to play. Maryland looks for an ensuring goal, but Civil Pangolin back the other way, has the passing lane cut off via demolition, but it's thrown right back in Hexy's face as Bacon tries to get something going, but another backup as Civil Pangolin looks for the psycho and instead sends it to the corner.
How they made that look as efficient as they did is a minor miracle in my mind. Good challenge from Pangolin. It's going to be a shot opportunity for Doc Swag. No, it's not, because Hexy with some real good administrative backboard defense here. Bacon barely said his name, being really iced out of the play overall. Maybe he's got an opportunity here. Slice and dice. Back he goes into his own third. Less than 60 seconds left. Quick turn ball goes the 100 boost. Not stolen away from Boog, but Boog's got a chance to score, and he does just that.
That's a great way to put it away. You can see Bacon was slow to corral the ball and had Turtle racing in. That's fine if that's the only attacker coming after you, but Boog had the same idea. It's a gambit that Maryland pull off to send two attackers at high pace. If they both miss, then UC Berkeley walks it down and probably ties it up. But Boog, a great finish to close out that sequence.
Just talk about what happened last series and reverse the roles, it seems. Cal have barely had a sniff. Great adaptation from the University of Maryland. Double committing. Bacon has to challenge, and he doesn't challenge well. Hexy, 1v1, make that none v1. Great demo down the other side. Turtle, Civil Pangolin, he's able to beat him. Bacon has to go sideways, otherwise that ball's heading goalward. Over the top of Boog, here's Hexy over the top of Bacon. Doc Swag's got the opportunity. Turtle's not bumped, and the shot
was too sharp anyway.
Just tried to take it too quickly to the bottom corner. Unsuccessful, no pace, easy to save away. That one lingers around, and they invite the challenge in, but nobody from UC Berkeley can answer the phone in time. Time expires. It won't matter if that goes in. It's a second game on the board in this series for Terps Esports of the University of Maryland, and once again, we find ourselves knotted up at 2 apiece, headed to Game 5. 6 is now the minimum. These teams really love their 0-second chances, despite the fact that it won't change the outcome. They'll certainly look to put on a show. Hexy goes center, but no help to be found. It's Maryland with their second win of the series, 2-2 after 4.
Wonderful observation of Rule 0 there. Wow, another clean sheet in my esport? No way. But that's all on Terps. Terps have completely flipped the script. They've taken all the things that Cal did good and they've just applied it to themselves. And that's frustrated Cal, serving of their own medicine, you could say. And now the spotlight switches over to the blue team, and you're asking, well, what can they do to switch things up? I mentioned it earlier. Bacon barely had a say. To be fair, the majority of his say was defensively speaking and passing and not getting too much involved in the attack, with the sole exception being literally the game just gone by before this one. Now seems a little lost, as does everybody else. Someone's got to find a map.
I think at the same time, though, if you have teammates, so for Bacon's case, it's Civil Pangolin and Doc Swag. If you have teammates that are feeling confident enough to push up offensively and get those sequences going with each other, it's always nice to see, you know, the 1-2-3 passing plays, everybody gets their chance to shoot on target. It's one of the more efficient ways to score. At the same time, I'm kind of sitting here and thinking that Bacon might just be backing up and employing one of my favorite strategies, where it's, you know, my first strategy is teammate A, go score. If that doesn't work, I employ my second favorite strategy, teammate B, go score. And I just kind of anchor things down. It doesn't always win you series. Like, it's not exactly the most high risk or high reward playstyle, but that could be Bacon's mindset right now. Let the shooters shoot and let Bacon deal with the ball if it comes back on a quick transition.
Well, it goes back to that discussion we were having earlier about the Season 5-7 structure that worked so well for Cal. But there's a reason why it's off meta, and it's because it is so predictable to read. And I think it just took UMT a moment, but without a moment's notice, they turn a situation from bad to worse. Hexy driving forward, miss off the backboard. It was easier to miss than to score for Turf.
Oh, staying true to the name, staying flipped upside down without a care in the world for that turtle goal. 29 seconds is all it takes, and Maryland start to shift this momentum on their side. Turtle doesn't even care. It's a punch off the sidewall, back to a teammate. Now the transition. Oh my word, Hexy! That entire play from start to finish is a sequence of dreams for any offense.
Man has got a goal in him, doesn't he? My goodness. First of all, the sharp angle a couple of games ago, and now this redirect, which he does so with aplomb. That is a mighty strike, and Cal are shell-shocked into an early 2-0 deficit.
It's just something that you can't teach at point blank to a team to pull off a sequence like that. They've got to click and fire on all cylinders. And Turtle can't quite make as much contact. I think maybe the flip and the actual, you know, act of the shot taking through Turtle off needs to be upside down and free jumping from the half field line in order to have more of a chance of hitting it. But at the end of the day, Maryland looked as confident as ever. They send the whole artillery to that clear. Another double up on this one as Turtle goes to the corner. But the response from UC Berkeley has not been fast enough to this point to really make a difference.
They're reactive and not proactive, and that works in some situations, but not against the defense that's clicking like this. It's time to boogie.
Oh dear, another quick jump. Doc Swag plays it, so does Bacon. That's 2 gone, and you could almost put the goal in the back of the net. In that moment, save yourself a second or 2 of time and keep it on the rest of the clock. The University of Maryland have been all over the field in this opening sequence. It doesn't feel like it's stopping anytime soon.
1-2, and bless me, it's 3. And just 1 minute 30 elapsed as well. There could be more pain on the way for UC Berkeley. It's Civil Pangolin who watches, but Look at Bacon throw himself at the ball and not get any of it. Silver Pangolin goes to that corner, no follow-up touch. There is a shot opportunity, and Bacon recycles but gives it up so cheaply. That's on its way to the town hall, and Turtles ringing the bell because it's number 4.
Oh dear, everybody late to the party. If the party is playing defense, UC Berkeley lost the invitation in the mail. Maryland, a 4-goal lead. Running away with it feels like an understatement at this point in time because it hasn't had to take these insane, masterfully crafted plays every single time, even though Maryland can pull those kinds of plays off. They're just making a silly show of it at this point.
It is a certified curb stomp. The cement is meeting more of UC Berkeley than UC Berkeley are meeting the ball Galgan. Hexy with another goal. It was a freebie, an infield pass, a 2v1. It's all falling apart. A cataclysm in the Cal camp.
And the worst part about this is in any normal circumstances, you go down 6-0 and you just say, go next. Like, are we allowed to forfeit this game? We just go, but we're in game 5 of a best of 7 that's tied at 2-2. If there's any point in time where you quite literally cannot do that, it's right here. You need to come up with the response in a very short time frame.
Stop! They're already dead! University of Maryland with no mercy, and you know what? They want more. And I love that, Galgan. I adore that, because at this stage, 6-0 up, more than half the game to go. You'd be almost 7-0 up to go. Might still be 7-0. It is going to be 7-0 on the stroke of half-time. They could so easily take their foot off the gas, but it ain't in their nature. It ain't in their DNA, baby.
The ball goes post to post. Turtle also goes post to post, and then dribbles it out for Hexy to half flip the ball into the net. It is a sheer disaster class right now defensively for UC Berkeley. They can't get anything going, much to the credit of Maryland just playing some of the cleanest offense we have seen all event long in all 3 weekends. They do not stop. The shots keep coming. Passing plays are drawn up from far and away. Finally, a quick challenge all the way down lane. And of course, that's how UC Berkeley scored.
Let's credit UMD again, shall we, while they're on their high horse. This is all them. They're doing so well, but obviously the goal-scoring trajectory has to end at some point. An overcommitment, perhaps you could say. Cal and Bacon in particular sees an eye through the storm. They shoot for it, and at least they get 1 on the board. At least they're not going home empty-handed, because they've got bruises all over their body, and they might get another, my goodness. Hexy is vibing. The dude is on fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching, welcome to Brazil. It's been a while since we've been here. It's getting quite comfortable. If I knew any Portuguese, I would certainly provide it. But
Bem-vindo.
Okay, we can work with it. I'll have to get to. Okay.
One noche, depending on where you are.
I should start taking classes from you. I think you might be an expert on this. I don't really have any other frame of reference, so I'm just going off of you knowing an insane amount. Bacon. Okay, we've got a second here for UC Berkeley. No, 5 goals in 1 minute and 18 seconds. Yes. Okay. Well, listen, I thought I'd try. All right.
Listen, man, I'm usually optimistic, but this would be the bottle job of the century if they concede 5 in 120 seconds. That would be truly the most Rocket League game of Rocket League that we've ever witnessed in either of our careers.
Have to agree, but at the same time, ratio, I want a 7-7 overtime. And it's going to start right here from Civil Pangolin. Hexy with a block immediately, though. Maryland is just a little too strong from the midfield line. No way. Bacon with a save down from the back wall. Had plenty of time to pull it off, but still felt like all the pressure in the world as Maryland were bearing down on the top of the box. Civil Pangolin puts a dent in the crossbar. Doc Swag to go back for a self-dish attempt, but Boog takes it away as calm as ever. And Hexy just wanted to stat pad a little bit with another pass to Boog.
Cal? They just want to make this look better than it was. My goodness. Oh my goodness. There is nothing to say After that, there is really no words that can do that justice. That's the third goal. Maybe no. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done.
Listen, I've got plenty of words. The first of which are 4 goals in 15 seconds. Yes, but besides that, I just
came off.
Okay, you know what? Fair enough. I completely understand. It is a touchdown to a field goal here. Fantastic game of football we've had. See if anybody can notch another extra point before we head out of regulation. And sure enough, there it is. Because why not? 8-3. Okay.
Thinking of game 5 in our previous series and thinking, oh yeah, that's as bad as it's going to get today. And then this. 8-3, 11 goals scored across the two teams. Terp saying, no, we really do want this to look as bad for you as possible, UC Berkeley. We're not going to let you get away with this one, are we? Civil Bangolan, though, he's got other ideas. No! What a save!
How? I just... All right. Reel it in just a little bit. 8-3. We've got series on the line, double match point for Maryland, and very well deserved. That's a great offensive showing. I can't believe we got 11 goals there. We very clearly could have gotten at least 13 with the scoring chances that we had for Cal towards the end of that game. That is just going to be ingrained in my brain seeing that sequence. It's the most meaningless 0-second sequence. It's a 5-goal lead for Maryland, but you mentioned the flashbacks of the prior series. Yeah, we were sitting here moving much faster in this best of 7, close games, but low scoring games. And then all of a sudden Maryland just woke up and became, prime Ronaldo, all 3 of them. Like I don't understand how you allow something like that to just click. And it just happens.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to look at what Cal did wrong. We should look at what Terps did right. And what they did right is they were merciless, and they were outrageously clinical. I thought this was more of a doctor's visit than anything, because it was like with scalpel precision, they were able to just slice open any sort of defensive structure that Cal did put up. And the shots, the shooting percentage was off the charts. Hexy in particular, with possibly one of the best games from any individual player in the Rally Cry Collegiate series thus far. And here's Turtle just looking to skill on the entire field yet again. Doc Swag forced into an early save. But Cal, listen, from second number 1, it's so clear what they need to do. Don't concede and work from there, because if you've forgotten the series scoreline, and I wouldn't blame you if you did, it's match point for Terps.
Okay, but hear me out here, and if there are any UC Berkeley fans in the chat, I'm going to provide you with the most insane copium ever. Are you ready for this? In the previous game, I said pretty close to exactly what I said, was when you go down 6-0, you start to think about forfeiting the game. As soon as Maryland got up 6-0, the game finishes 8-3. UC Berkeley ended up, essentially winning that mini game that started after Maryland went up 6-0, 3-2. So that's a win for UC Berkeley. They had the second half of the game on lock, but unfortunately, it's a full 5 minutes. And just after the first of which, Maryland gets out to potentially a series-winning lead.
I wouldn't dare try and replicate the accent, but in the words of Danny Boy ATM, that was absolutely diabolical defending from Cal. That was outrageously poor. Nobody shouldering responsibility whatsoever. A missed challenge. Both of the remaining players so far out on the wings, they might have been in different zip codes. There's another one. I say that it was impressive how UMD sliced open the defense of Cal last game, but now it feels like the cake has been pre-sliced and it's being served up on a lovely lazy Susan. And speaking of lazy, again, what has happened to this defense?
I don't even know if it's slicing anymore at this point. I think UC Berkeley managed to find a way to poke the giant enough that Maryland is just completely done. Like, this is a level of fervor unmatched by many offenses that I've watched before. It feels at times completely unfettered, which, yes, you can make the case that UC Berkeley need to be playing stronger defense, but I would not want to play against a Terps esports roster that is operating like this offensively. I don't think it would be fun for anyone because you're constantly having to pull saves out of the most unconventional areas and places. Meanwhile, this is a great turnaround. Force everybody from Maryland to the same corner and then send it far side.
Put the funky glasses back on because Doc Swag is back in town. Love the finish. And good pace as well. Good counter-attack from Cal. You know, as much as we meme and joke, it's still a one-goal game. Like, Terps has looked great in attack again, but it's not a 6 goals to the good level of attack this time around, and that's an improvement. But we just need to see a little bit more.
One goal game, one game series, one series to not necessarily decide the fate for both of these teams, but it starts to feel like that Game 7 looming if UC Berkeley can find a bit more of a strong stance. Boog demoed, so that'll help their chances. All three stacked up towards the ball. Civil Pangolin tries to go with an early flick, but Doc Swag removed. Bacon is still going to be the first one to the ball and doesn't quite win the challenge. Doc Swag demo doesn't matter, but Bacon misses the crucial touch. That would have been a surefire way through for UC Berkeley to equalize, but they get a free gift. Doc Swag with a challenge. That's honestly the best you feel like you could do in a sequence like that. But Maryland's struggling a little bit to clear their rank.
Yeah, with another chance of Bacon, and Hexy has to stretch the metaphorical arms, loving the aggressive nature. They're going punch for punch with University of Maryland, UC Berkeley. Lovely to see the demos and bumps coming out a little bit more fruitful, and it's the quality of them as well that's really putting UMD on the back foot. A miss here, a bit of panic, but still Pangolan's got nothing in the tank to work with. Has to rotate out. Boog watches Bree. Hexy goes forward, Turtle in support. Hexy 1v2, beats the 2, Turtle on target! 3-1!
If there's anything we've learned as this series has gone on, do not give Turtle the ball with a near open shot. It's going to get buried. It's a great opening pass, get the defense going, everybody out of position, and you have no doubt that that ball is finding the back of the net, so crunch time becomes even more crunchified for UC Berkeley.
Right, 90 seconds plus change. What can they do from here? Civil Pangolin had to be on target, hit the bar, had to be on target, score the goal! The Doctor is in again!
Certainly starting to become the mirror figure for UC Berkeley to Turtle of Maryland. Doc Swag, it's not the prettiest finish, but everybody's out of the picture. It's going to find the back of the net no matter what. So they quickly erase the 2-goal down, back to a 1 with just under 90 to play. Good kickoff. Here goes Bacon up against Hexy. Can't get a shot out of it, but we'll try to waterfall it down. But no immediate help. UC Berkeley understand they have to back up a little bit and watch the counter because it's coming screaming back at them.
All Bacon, a little bit of panic, and Hexy doesn't do the same, but he does give it up to Doc Swaggy, who continues to move forward. Here's Civil Pangolin. Look at those lovely trails, but look at it stop as University of Maryland snuff this ball and take it downtown. Bacon, that's a much-needed interception. 100 boost steal from Hexy. Out of anyone, you don't want to give it to him. Oh, that's beautiful. Hits the bar, and again they scramble it away.
Such a gambit to run for UC Berkeley, allowing Hexy to move somewhat unfettered, but it doesn't result in a goal, so they can thank their lucky stars that they were spared that reality. Turtle with a boom to the back wall. Civil Pangolin, right spot, right time, but you've got to get this clear moving quickly. A little bit of a double commit. Can Doc Swag recollect and get himself centered up? Not quite. It's a bit too heavy on the sauce. Out through the corner, under 30 to play.
That's a bit of a misplay, isn't it? It's a misplay and a half, but Bacon, heavy touch, keeps it locked to the corner. Doc Swag picks up the pieces, tries to go under Hexy. Hexy having absolutely none of it. Civil Pangolin back into the center. Too much sauce on this particular play as well. They've got the opportunities, Berkeley, but they keep on messing it up. Backboard, 100 steal, triple commit, the solo snapping special, and a double commit for the blue team too. Bacon continues to be forced back. Oh, what a damp squib of an ending. But it's UMD who survive the storm, and they head on into the semi-finals for Sunday's championship.
For the first and only time in that series, we see Maryland opt not to keep the ball up at 0 seconds, but for very good reason, because of a point that you brought up towards the end of that game 6. It directly contrasts what we saw in the early stages for UC Berkeley. They started to get opportunities towards the end of that series, and that's where you saw the real danger emerging against Maryland, where they started to realize we're getting hit kind of hard here. We need to fire back. And fire back they did by putting up 8 goals in game 5. But despite that, UC Berkeley made the adjustments that they needed to for the most part, created more opportunities for themselves, got some late comebacks going. The only question that gets begged at the end of that is what happens if this side of UC Berkeley shows up earlier to the series. But that's something that we always say about all of these teams as the series wrap up. Whenever they lose, you just wish they would hit their stride, you know, a game, a couple minutes, even 1 goal sooner than they did, but it's too little too late.
Much like testing in Formula One, you always question teams when they head into and out of game number 1. Is that their peak? Is that their nadir? And I think, unfortunately, on this occasion, when you look at how UC Berkeley played, like you say, in the latter half of this game, how they played in particular in game number 2, you'd have to say that sadly, those were the peaks. Admittedly, that 8-goal, it wasn't 8-goal deficit, of course, but conceding 8 goals in 1 game, that's an extreme scenario of how bad it can go. But when you concede so many goals within a 5-minute, again, reminder, they're 5-minute games, Rocket League. You're conceding at more than 1 goal per minute. I kind of felt that even if Cal were able to pick up another game win, they didn't have the stamina to sustain it, simply because of Maryland's ability to adapt proactively, and also just Hexing. Hexing was incredible.
Yeah, you bring up a great point there, because I want to touch on, you know, sometimes we get into these series, and as much as we want to talk up the teams for the passing plays that they set up, the cohesion that they have as a unit of 3 players, sometimes it comes down to individual skill. You know, this is a game where mechanics do tend to reign supreme, obviously less so in 3s than they do in other game modes. But if you compare these rosters, both on value on paper, nasty goal from Hex there. I'm still not over that one. And Boog with the finish here. But this is the point that I'm getting at, right? If you compare them on paper before they come into the series and you watch these replays back, the more impressive plays come from Maryland. That's just how it ends up shaking out. So I think it makes sense at the end of the day why they take a series like this, because we know that players like Bacon and Civil Pangolin have it within themselves to hit that higher echelon. But in a series where most of the heavy lifting in terms of the finishing power comes from Doc Swag, you start to wonder what happens when all 3 players are at that level and on that step. Because we didn't get there, Maryland won that individual skills challenge of sorts as the series progressed.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt to me like Cal, they have the ability to attain total rotation, which is meta right now, but they actually, it feels like they lack the confidence in each other to achieve that. A runaway goal here, which ultimately did start something of a mini comeback, but you know, you look at that structured format, and that's where Bacon, for example, looked most comfortable. Then as soon as UMD were like, oh, they're running a structured rotation, we can exploit this time and time again, then they tried to move away from that into something that's a little bit more meta, a little bit more, you know, counter to what they're seeing in front of them, and they just can't hang because the team doesn't synergize properly, which is a difficult problem to get around, that you've literally got 1 player that prefers one system and 2 players that clearly work better in another, when you need all 3 players to be on the same wavelength. I don't know how you fix that from a coaching perspective, and I don't want to think about how you fix that from a coaching perspective, but they've got to come back next week, Cal, because they need to get more points on the board to secure this playoff berth, which I think they still can get. But today they see, against similarly placed opponents, seeding-wise, form-wise, just how big a task they have in front of them to even get a slice of the prize pool in the playoff bracket.
But still, trying to fight to get to that game 7, having good moments. But I agree, it's tough, especially when you're tied up 2-2 in the series and you suffer such a large defeat as that game 5 was, where you're down 6-0 early. You feel like you're playing for nothing at that point, and then you immediately go into a match point situation. Adjustments are one thing, but doing it with your back firmly pressed against the wall is a whole nother beast. It is not enough this time around for UC Berkeley to grab the win. They bow out in the quarterfinals of this week 3 of the Rally Cry Collegiate Series closed qualifier, trying to get ready for playoffs, as you say, needing more points on their side. But for Terps Esports of the University of Maryland, it's a solid win here. It's closer than they may have liked, but still similarly seeded. It's 6 games for them. Interestingly enough, the one series length avoided in this bracket thus far, a 4-1. Everybody going either sweeps 6 or 7. Does that same trend continue as we go on into the semis and grand final tomorrow? We'll have to see, but Relic, we do know who is matching up against each other. It's UT Dallas, the top seed in this bracket, finding a USC Gamecocks, who we saw earlier on take that win against Northeastern. Meanwhile, University of Maryland, their reward for besting UC Berkeley in 6 is to face those Drexel Dragons.
Yeah, I really hope that we get the Maryland Drexel series for our first series of the day tomorrow, because that, to me, looks like the far more competitive series of the two. Drexel Dragons, I would say, certainly the underdogs going into that one, but they are capable of springing a surprise, as are USC Gamecocks, certainly. But UT Dallas, I said it at the beginning of the day, looking at the teams that they're potentially going up against through this bracket run, rubbing their hands together. We were questioning, would they falter a little bit? Would they flummox us by taking on the first seed role and completely throwing it away? Well, on first impressions, no. A 4-0 sweep is as comprehensive as you can get, of course, in a best of 7. And I think looking at the Gamecocks defense, I don't know how they fix that in 24 hours, to be real with you. So yeah, I think UT Dallas are going to be feeling pretty good going into tomorrow, but it is Rocket League. It is certainly the esport of all time, and stranger things have happened than the #1 seed bowing out early in the competition.
Yeah, if today has proven anything, it's that strange things do happen in this esport all the time. And we laugh and joke and jest along with everybody else, but at the end of the day, this competition is truly getting closer and closer, as some teams think they've already got their playoff spot locked up, so maybe they can pass by. Other teams are fighting for their spots tooth and nail, and that's when you get some of the best Rocket League you've seen. If you're interested in watching some of that amazing Rocket League, obviously being here today, we very much appreciate it, but you can come back tomorrow, same time, same place, for semifinals and grand final action here of weekend number 3. UT Dallas and the USC Gamecocks go up against each other, as well as the University of Maryland and those Drexel Dragons. One of those 4 teams will be your champion of this 3rd weekend of Rally Cry Collegiate Series Rocket League play, presented by the Army National Guard. For Relic and everyone behind the scenes, I've been Galgan. You have been amazing. Come back here tomorrow, same time, same place, for the conclusion of this playoff bracket.
Our generation has a choice. Turn away from the world's problems or chase them down. We refuse to sit back and watch them pass us by. Watch us fly ahead. Rise to every challenge and overcome anything. Watch us become the next greatest generation.